Get ready for the next big thing.
A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman.
So we need to start bringing out the profession in a woman.
When we demonstrate, they will come when we've been tear gassed, not when we want to pass the message.
The Dada's Show is back, a show where women get to be themselves and discuss real issues.
She cannot allow other women to come on the same space because she's getting different privileges from men. So akiona mwanamke, ako like, this is a competitor.
This being an election year, we have given an opportunity to women to express themselves and share their expectations during this critical moment in our country.
The issue of corruption and how it has impacted women and children in this country.
Create jobs for the informal sector, create jobs for the youth who leave the universities.
Hatutaki bora uongozi, tunataka uongozi bora.
Keep your heels, head and standards high. Dadas, coming soon.
Hello, what's up? How y'all doing?
Hi.
Wave kidogo salimi. There we go.
Salamu za Mungu.
Salamu za Mungu. And you know, we've started with some really Christian music hapo hivyo tukianza. I have a Christian joke. I go for it?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Shoot your shot.
So, why doesn't Jesus wear any jewelry?
Because it's Jesus.
Anyone?
Why doesn't Jesus wear any jewelry? Okay.
Yes.
Because his father owns them.
No. No.
See, God owns them.
It's a joke, guys.
So
why doesn't Jesus wear any jewelry?
So he did.
Victor, you have tried. Doreen, you have tried. Regina.
I have no idea.
He didn't want to go
because he was the son of man, ama? See, because his father owns everything.
Niwambie.
There were no retailers then.
Niwambie.
Hebu tuambie.
He's a Jew.
Because he breaks every chain.
Nice.
Jenny, get her right here.
Nice.
Good morning.
Good morning. That's a nice one. My answer was correct, Jane.
No. He breaks every chain.
Not that there were no retailers. Hakukuwa na wauzaji wa jewelry, ma bling bling. Okay.
Nonetheless, good morning and welcome to the program. We are glad you are with us on this beautiful 5th day of April 2022. Thank you so much for choosing to start your morning with us right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jane Wambui.
And I'm Victor Lowe. Welcome to the program. You can talk to us on official Twitter handles and on social media platforms. And
pull up. Tumesikia hiyo Victor.
I say social.
Tumesikia.
Hold up. Hold up. Hold up.
Always remember, we do not judge.
Pull up.
And our social
and
media.
Judgmental.
From the top.
You know where I come from when you say social media, it's an offense. So I was just trying to align myself to.
Always remember, we are non-judgmental. So you
it is okay.
It's a safe space.
Take it from the top.
Okay, welcome to the program. My name is Victor. You can talk to us on our social media platforms. That's better now. Okay. Yes, time has gone. So let's get the show on the road. Doreen.
Yes, and a beautiful morning to you. Yes, as Vic is saying, time has gone. But we are still here to bring you up to speed with what has been happening, of course, in Kenya and beyond. And kama kawaida, a lot in store for you again this Wednesday morning. So stay put up until the end of the show. I'm Doreen Arange Okello. Good morning.
Good morning once again. Yes, indeed, you are in time for Good Morning Kenya. But before we get to our topical conversations in our current affairs program, that is Good Morning Kenya, that you've taken time to switch to. Just remember that if you're not able to actually watch the broadcast from, the comfort of your television. How about you stream us on our various social media platforms, including Facebook Live. We also welcome your feedback. Our Twitter handle remains at KBC Channel 1. I'm Regina Manyara. Now let's bring you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines in the last 24 hours. And we start off with Malta's graft, where the government has recovered over 5.5 billion shillings from proceeds of corruption. Over 5 billion shillings is the worth of 39 parcels of land that had been grabbed from public entities and county governments, while 450 million shillings had been stashed in offshore accounts in New Jersey. While witnessing the recovery of the loot, President Uhuru Kenyatta called for concerted efforts to scale up the war against graft, saying the fight against the vice forms the soul of the nation.
Kenyatta on Monday at State House, Nairobi, witnessed the ceremonial handing over of 450 million shillings repatriated back to Kenya from Jersey. The funds were confiscated by Jersey authorities following the successful conviction of Windward Trading Limited for money laundering offences.
Today is testimony to the fact that no matter how long it takes, no matter how complicated a case, no matter how far one goes or how deep one hides, justice ultimately will prevail.
During the occasion, the president also witnessed the handing over of 39 title deeds for corruptly acquired parcels of land of public entities and county governments worth over 5 billion shillings.
We know corruption has deep roots, and its axis keeps on regrouping and fighting back, using all means to try and delay, dissuade, and defeat our efforts.
The corruptly acquired land recovered by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission included 14 parcels handed over to Treasury Cabinet Secretary as trustee of various public entities valued at approximately 603 million shillings. One parcel of land valued at 2 billion shillings was handed over to the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, and another piece of land also valued at 2 billion shillings went to the Kenya Railways Corporation.
And to all agencies and arms of government, including the judiciary and parliament, that this is not a time to relax on this important agenda. Good governance and unity of purpose is what will deliver our Vision 2030 and beyond. We must reinstate values of integrity, hard work, and sacrifice.
Other recovered parcels of land were handed over to the county governments of Uasin Gishu, Kisii, Nakuru, Kisumu, and Bomet. The head of state emphasized that although corruption has deep roots and its axis keeps on regrouping and fighting back, the government will not be swayed by the naysayers or misdirected by those who relish negativity and resentment.
Graft there. Now we cross over to matters of the fuel shortage. Apparently, it is expected to ease in the coming days after the government released 34.4 billion shillings to pay fuel marketers. The funds will be channeled towards clearing arrears owed to the oil marketers under the fuel subsidy program. However, oil marketers have said Kenyans will have to wait for about a week before normalcy in operations resume.
Petrol station imekuja kutoka Nakuru. Petrol station imepita kama ni mob, ni kama kitu 17 zenye ziko na mafuta so far, lakini huwezi ingia ndani upate mafuta juu ya jam, gari zimejaa, motorbikes. Alafu sana petrol station mingi ziko na vipawa peke yake, ni super, hakuna diesel.
Since last week, Kenyans have been grappling with fuel shortages, with long queues and empty gas stations becoming the new normal. This has seen unscrupulous traders double the cost of fuel in a bid to cash in on the shortage and the high demand. The fuel shortage has been blamed on a standoff between the government and oil marketers over outstanding subsidy funds. To ease the shortage, the government has released 34.4 billion shillings it owed to the marketers after President Uhuru Kenyatta signed the supplementary appropriation bill. In April last year, the government rolled out a fuel subsidy plan to cushion consumers from the surge in prices of oil in international markets. According to Treasury figures, The government has so far spent 36 billion shillings subsidizing fuel in a bid to tame runaway prices at the pump. According to the Ministry of Petroleum, the government owes oil companies 13 billion shillings in arrears.
Despite these developments, Kenyans will still have to wait for another 10 days before normalcy resumes at pump stations.
If you delay here for 1 hour, it delays the end point with several hours. If you delay this place with 1 day, it will take about 4 days to wet the other areas. Now it has taken over 2 weeks without products moving. So even if they unlock today, even if they open the taps today, we expect the country to be wet by maybe in about 10 days or so.
Marketers say they have incurred losses due to the stalemate, which is expected to escalate the demurrage fees paid to shippers for delivery.
And now, as we wait, the question is what led to that fuel shortage? Now, according to Deputy President William Ruto, he is blaming the National Treasury and Energy Ministries for the current fuel shortage. The Deputy President claims that the scarcity of fuel and rise in prices is a handiwork of cartels and corrupt public officials. And as the Gishoke Washira reports, now Kenya Kwanza Alliance is questioning the whereabouts of 39 billion shillings allocated to the Petroleum Levy Fund.
A day after President Uhuru Kenyatta attributed the current fuel crisis to the ongoing war in Ukraine, his deputy William Ruto is blaming the ministries of Treasury, Energy and Petroleum.
From their own statement, they are not sure of what to say. Is it because of the war in Ukraine, or is it because of the crisis with our oil marketers? Which is which? And that goes to tell you that this crisis is orchestrated, and it is as a result of the cartels and barons who have taken over, using conflict of interest and state capture in our economy.
Speaking at his official residence, the Deputy President claimed there has been irregular and illegal diversion of consumer protection funds, as well as corruption in the petroleum import systems to favor some politically connected oil marketers. The Kenya Kwanza Alliance is categorical that the current state of affairs at the fuel pump is as a result of state capture and corruption. Their questions are directed to the Treasury, the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Petroleum.
Where is the 39 billion shillings Petroleum Development Levy Fund meant for the fuel subsidy program as this crisis deepens? Can the Treasury also confirm or deny that the diversion of funds has been used in debt servicing and infrastructure development without the approval of the National Assembly? Can the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum list the import quotas that have been allocated to oil marketers over the last 1 year, and which are these oil marketers by name?
Meanwhile, the United Democratic Alliance UDA is set to hold nominations on the 14th of this month after Ministry of Education approved their request to use the gazetted primary schools as polling stations. UDA's National Elections Board Chairperson Anthony Mwaura says the party will recruit 100,000 polling clerks for the exercise.
We'll be keeping tabs on issues of fuel, given that Thursday we expect the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani to be presenting the proposed budget for the financial year 2022-2023 that is expected, where government actually expects to spend 3.3 trillion shillings. The question is the policies and the law around petroleum and petroleum products. Will they factor this in? Well, as we ponder on that, we take a quick breather. We'll be right back with more news.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
Mimi sieti na kupenda na kuhurumia tu.
Unavyolia sana ni kama omboleza. Sio vizuri.
Mimi sitaki maneno mengi, lakini kama ukijua kila mtu atarudi alipotoka.
Kwani mtu hawezi kunisaidia mpaka iwe nimemhonga ama kumtishia?
Bali umefanya nini? Sivyo unavyofikiria kaka.
Umeona laba mtu wewe? Lea, yule ndo mwenzangu.
Vitimbi Jumatatu hii. Jumuika nasi siku ya Jumatatu ili upate uhondo kamili kwenye vitimbi. Hiyo basi usikose burudani tosha kila siku ya Jumanne hadi Alhamisi saa 1:35 katika tamthilia ya Maza. Keep abreast of the developments live from the National Assembly and the Senate.
On our members of parliament.
The questions.
When is the construction expected to commence?
The motions.
Beg to give notice of the following motion.
The debate.
Will as many as one of people say aye?
The statements.
A statement on an issue of general topical concern.
The petitions.
Order number 4, petitions.
Stay tuned to KBC Channel 1 and Radio Taifa for live proceedings from both houses of parliament from Tuesday to Thursday. Live, uncensored, unedited. KBC, your national broadcaster.
Good morning. This is Good Morning Kenya right here on KBC Channel 1 and I'm Regina Manyara. Thank you for keeping us company. I can see several of you are keenly following this broadcast on our various social media platforms where we are streaming live. We have Tom Mwema from Nairobi there. We have Mike So from Kangundo and as well as Jackson Kihara there from Nairobi area. Now we cross over to matters of elections where the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has maintained that all electoral related offences committed before, during and after the general election will be dealt with expeditiously. While calling for the first tracking of electoral cases currently before the judiciary, IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati said a total of 71 cases were recorded by the Code of Conduct Committee in 2017 with 2 individuals disqualified from participating in the polls.
With about 4 months remaining until the country conducts its general election, the judiciary is putting its house in order to ensure fair, timely and effective settlement of electoral disputes.
Because we are the ones who pronounce whether the election was free, fair, credible. Therefore, we rely on the IEBC to do their work properly. And I've been so encouraged because we've been working with the IEBC to train the judiciary on how to effectively deal with these disputes.
Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which is tasked with the bulk of retaining public confidence in the electoral process, has affirmed a commitment to uphold the rule of law.
We shall not relent. We shall ensure that we deal firmly with individuals who breach the code of conduct and ensure that the law is followed.
We also note that this election, just like previous election, will have a high prevalence of the use of technology and social media in propagating hate speech. We hope that the evidence that will be gathered would meet the legal thresholds.
During a 4-day meeting with stakeholders, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution launched an elections guideline to ensure consistency in the prosecution of the election-related offences.
We want the few hours that Kenyans queue to vote to usher peaceful 5 years and not a turbulent 5 years.
We are ready to collaborate with the DPP, and on your part, we request that matters of election offences are fast-tracked. We still have a few cases arising from the by-elections we had.
So far, 120 magistrates have been gazetted to hear and determine cases under the Election Offences Act. Meanwhile, IEBC has signed an agreement that will see Postal Corporation of Kenya provide logistics services during the upcoming 2022 general election. Under the 3-year agreement, PCK will be charged with transportation of election materials countrywide to designated IEBC offices, warehouses, polling centers, and to any other IEBC stakeholders.
To the corridors of justice, the hearing of a murder case facing Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa and her bodyguard Geoffrey Otieno kicked off on Monday at the Mombasa Law Courts. Elsewhere, Devolution Principal Secretary Julius Korir has been charged with assaulting his pregnant wife. This is from the corridors of justice.
Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa and her bodyguard Geoffrey Otieno have been charged with the killing of an ODM supporter Jola Ngumbau during the Ganda ward by-elections in 2019. One of the 5 witnesses, Alfred Kahindi, told Judge Ano Ginjo that on that fateful day, Jumwa Ruben Katana's home, where a meeting was taking place, and accused police officers of not executing her orders to bar the meeting. He said Jumwa then threatened to execute the orders herself, ordering her supporters to burn down the host's house. During cross-examination by the defense counsel, Katana stated that Jumwa had come there to kill the deceased brother. The matter has been adjourned for tomorrow with 4 more witnesses lined up. And in Nairobi, Devolution Principal Secretary Julius Korir pleaded not guilty to assaulting his estranged wife Evelyn Chepkoech. He allegedly assaulted her on September 17, 2020, at a time when she was expectant at their home in Karen. Through his lawyer Nicholas Ombija, Korir pleaded for 7 more days to have the matter settled, saying the delay was occasioned by a spinal injury he was attending to.
What has slowed down the process has been the ill health of the accused person. He has got a problem with the spinal cord.
The prosecution, however, stated that Korir's failure to appear in court has subjected the matter to several postponements, hence granting his plea would amount to emotional abuse. Korir also said that he had deposited 450,000 shillings in court to pay for his wife's rent for January and February. He denied the charge and was freed on a cash bail of 20,000 or a bond of the same amount. The Principal Secretary has also been stopped from contacting the accused. The matter will be mentioned on April 19, 2022.
Now, just an update is that that particular court proceeding is going to be ongoing this morning, and we'll be keenly focusing on that, where one of the witnesses also came out to say that, yes, the said Member of Parliament was within the crowd, but she was not armed. We're going to be keeping tabs on that. Now, Lady Justice Beatrice Thranera has been eulogized as a diligent public servant who demonstrated exceptional commitment to her work. On Monday, friends and colleagues convened a special memorial service at the Kilimani Law Courts in honor of the late judge, lauding her pronouncements on complex issues and breathing life into the Kenyan Constitution.
The judiciary has paid tribute to Lady Justice Beatrice Thuranira Jaden, heaping praise on her performance in civil service.
Service to this country for a period of over 36 years, and we gather here today to pay tribute to that service.
Justice Thuranira, who died on 27th March in India, was eulogized as a wise judge.
She was consistent in her participation and always insisted that the advocates must communicate efficiently and use open channels in order to ensure that services were rendered efficiently.
On behalf of the Honorable Attorney General, who is the titular end of the bar, the Solicitor General, the entire office of the Attorney General, we convey our condolences to the family of the departed judge.
In a speech read on her behalf by Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, Chief Justice Martha Koome said the judiciary had lost a dedicated and excellent worker.
The man was fast and foremost a good person. Then a good judge. Those of us who knew her, both personally and professionally, are all the better for it.
Lady Justice Beatrice Thuranira Jaden joined the judiciary as a district magistrate in 1987 and served in various stations for over 20 years before her promotion to the post of Judge of the High Court on 23rd August 2011.
Aside from this, thank you for your support. We have really felt that from bringing her back from India shortly and also taking care of a lot of the arrangements.
There is evidence that she was part and parcel of the judiciary, and also the role that you have played for us since she got sick, all the visits and all the encouragement. I really wish to thank you all.
Now off to Kisii County, where a member of County Assembly aspirant has been hacked to death in his home in Boba Mumba, I think in Bomachoge, Borabu, their constituency. Now, the death of Thomas Ontweka Okari has been condemned by his fellow politicians who say they're fearing for their own safety. Led by Bogeka MCA Charles Nyangoto, the leaders are calling for speedy investigations into the murder of Okari.
A somber mood, panic and fear has gripped Bobamba village in Bomachoge, Borabu constituency of Kisii County following the death of Thomas Ontweka Okari. Nicknamed Sandona, Okari, who was a businessman in Nairobi, had allegedly retired for the night after a day-long political engagement when assailants entered his house and hacked him. Efforts by doctors at a private hospital in Kisii town to save his life were fruitless as he succumbed to the injuries. His death comes just days before the Orange Democratic Party primaries in the area. The late Okari had expressed interest in seeking the ODM ticket to vie for member of County Assembly seat.
And this raises very serious concerns, particularly for the people who are candidates for the coming elections. It actually raises concerns that we do not have security in this country to the extent that we have a candidate who is barely 3 days to the nomination being butchered in his own house.
I am facing the same nomination. Now, my first question is, are we going to continue minus him in Bombawa? And I want to ask ODM, Election Board, to do something about these nominations. And also, I want to ask the government of Kenya, as my colleague has put it, to give us security. Now, there is no way I'm going to sleep in my house because I'm fearing.
Tunaomba kwa unyenyekevu Mheshimiwa wetu Matiang'i ambaye tunamheshimu sana na ninajua anafanya kazi mzuri, ahakikishe kwamba tuko na ulinzi mwema hasa eneo hili letu ambao limeanza kuona visa kama hivi.
To all of us, let us be on the ladder of security. We should not be left and we are wonderful taxpayers. Let's be taken care of from the unnecessary threats.
Now, that particular story has some few developments, so to speak, with some of the aspirants down there now not only talking about the issue of their security, but they are also calling for the postponement of the nominations that are likely to be taking place soon, as citing inconsistencies. One of the leaders there has been quoted in one of the dailies that we're going to be sampling on in not too long, and this is nominated MCA Rispa Maseme, who is seeking the ODM party ticket for the Nyaribari Masaba constituency, who says that the party should consider postponing the primaries due to inconsistencies. She further on says that having received the party member register on Sunday, and they found it not conclusive. She says that the list was not a true reflection of the ODM membership locally. Those are some of the developments. We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening. Remember, April, some of the dates we already have already in. We're looking at April 22nd to have most of the primaries and nominations there actually take place. Now, we're still talking about, the Western region, and now we're focusing on Bungoma, where police in Kimilili are investigating an incident in which an officer is suspected to have attempted to commit suicide by ingesting a poisonous substance. While confirming the incident, Kimilili OCPD Evans Nyakundi said the officer was rescued on time and taken to Kimilili Level 5 Hospital, where he is recuperating.
David Wanyani Parasa attempted to commit suicide in his house. The deputy CS and some officers rushed to his house, and indeed they found him lying on his bed, unconscious. He was taken to Kimilili Level 4 General Hospital, where he is recapitulating in stable condition. The matter is being investigated to know the cause, but he left us a suicide note, which I have in my hand. We have instituted investigations, and we shall know the matter. The note is that there is a love triangle between him and another officer within the station, and we shall know there is like he has been persuaded in his marriage or his affair with this lady.
Now to the counties, where 9 health facilities in Busia County have been awarded for provision of quality health services. The awards consisted of certificates, trophies and money that were handed out by the Chief Officer in the Department of Health and Sanitation, that is Jonathan Ino. Details of this and other stories from the counties.
Award ceremony in Busia County saw Hunyangu Sub-County Hospital emerge as the best level 4 hospital, while Bumala Dispensary was the best in the health centers category. Healthcare professionals in the facilities were also awarded in what the county hopes will be a motivating factor in improving healthcare service delivery.
Kama idara tulikaa chini na tukasema kwamba tunataka kufanya motivation wale workers wote wetu katika serikali ya Busia.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Driving Schools Association has blamed the National Transport and Safety Authority for the mess within the Buda Buda sector. They have also asked the authority to reopen the online portal for their students to access driving tests, accusing NTSA of foul play in suspending major services, including the licensing of driving schools, drivers and instructors.
The government had better tell these people the truth, that maybe what you are doing in the Huduma centers is to register these people, the border borders, into the circles so that you can manage them.
Meanwhile, farmers in Taita Taveta County have lauded the partnership between the county government and the Save the Elephant project that has improved their coexistence with wildlife in the neighboring Savo National Park. The project has seen the erection of beehives on the fences around the farms, preventing the elephants from destroying crops.
Kila mzinga inakuwa connected na waya. So ndovu akijaribu kuja kwa ule mzinga ambao uko occupied na nyuki, akijaribu kupita kwa waya, itashake zile hives mbili, na zikishaki hivyo nyuki zitatoka. Nyuki zikitoka ndovu naye ataenda.
And the Meru Hospice, in conjunction with Mercy Step Foundation, is set to donate over 200 breast prostheses to cancer patients in Meru town. The devices, valued at between 40,000 to 70,000 shillings, are often unaffordable for patients battling the high cost of cancer treatment.
Chukua nafasi hii nialike mama yote ambaye anahitaji hiyo breast prosthesis akuje asubuhi. Tutapea mama yote ambaye anahitaji, bora tu ujirete, na hakuna chochote huwa tunaitisha, ni free.
Finally, the Association of Biomedical Engineering of Kenya has partnered with the Hong Kong experts and Chem Labs Limited to roll out a new mobile application, All Trusted Medical, which will increase efficacy of servicing and repairing medical equipment.
The counties now we speak matters business, where you need to prepare for tougher times ahead. And this is a message from tax and accounting experts from PKF, who project that the government is likely to increase taxes to finance this year's budget, estimated at 3.3 trillion shillings, that would be read this week on Thursday. According to PKF Tax Director James Mulili, Kenyans should brace for increased taxes on financial services, and the government is also likely to expand the products that were previously exempt from tax.
Ahead of the presentation of the 2022-2023 financial year budget statement by National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Okur Yatani on Thursday this week, tax and accounting experts from PKF project higher taxes to finance the 3.3 trillion shillings budget.
We are looking at a tax system that is not consistent. The reason we have these discussions every year is because we have to predict what to expect. And that shouldn't really be the situation. The government should come up with a tax policy that is consistent. We should always know every budget cycle, this is what we expect to see. We should be looking at a tax policy system that is certain.
Inflation is moving up. From February it was 5.1%. It's now moved up to around 6.3% in April. And we expect it to still move higher up with the fuel costs and other effects on the raw material inputs.
They say variables like the rising cost of living, uncertainty around the elections, the Russia-Ukraine war and global supply chain disruptions could stifle the economy and affect tax collection.
We are seeing a lot of target on anything that would net taxes from a customs point of view, import VAT, the excise duty, as well as all the other levies that come with importation. We obviously expect to see an adjustment to the products that attract excise duty. We expect to see a reclassification of some of the items that are either VAT exempt or VAT zero rated. And from a corporate income tax perspective, we just want to see the movement. What are some of these other changes that could be implemented to generate more taxes?
To finance the budget, Mulili projects that the National Treasury is likely to broaden or increase levies on financial services as well as target luxurious commodities. The National Treasury is also likely to review the list or taxes for goods and services.
The taxation around petroleum products is one of the areas that tax experts are going to be looking at as Treasury presents its proposed budget for the financial year 2022-2023 come Thursday. The 3.3 trillion shillings budget. Financing it is going to be a tall order, and tax experts are looking at, the financial services sector as well as a review of, excise duty and VATable goods as one of the ways that Treasury will be looking at to finance that budget. Indeed, that was yesterday, and we're going to be keeping tabs on what is happening ahead of Thursday. Remember, government intends to spend 3.3 trillion shillings, and experts are asking, can it, and what ways will the government be using to finance this particular budget? We also have government's projects under the Big Four agenda. Are they going to be among the main winners or gainers come Thursday? KBC Channel 1 is going to be bringing you a special report on Thursday, so do keep it right here. Now, still keeping up with matters budget is that National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani is this week on Thursday going to be presenting this year's budget, which is 2 months earlier than the usual time. Caroline Jenga looks at why this is so on her piece, Pre-Budget Transition.
Has been the norm. Finance ministers in the East African community present their respective countries' national budgets on the second Thursday of June every year. This year, it is supposed to be on the 9th of June. The case is, however, different for Kenya, that has revised the budget calendar and is presenting the budget 2 months earlier. The main reason is the August election, since the budget, or in legislative terms, the Finance Bill 2022, needs to be passed and signed into law in good time. This is because the term of the 12th Parliament officially expires on 10th of June, a day after other EAC member states present their national budget. Kenya's budget is being done as per the Public Financial Management Act that recommends fast-tracking of processes to ensure that government services are not interrupted during the electioneering period, as well as finance the general election and a possible presidential runoff. Therefore, debate and passage of the Finance Bill 2022 by lawmakers and subsequent signing into law by President Uhuru Kenyatta will authorize the executive, legislature and the judiciary to withdraw cash from the public coffers for day-to-day running of the government programs, as well as for KRA to collect taxes to finance the budget.
How well, for example, are these budget estimates and the budget we read on Thursday reflective of the next administration? And from what we can foresee is that we're going to get a clearer picture of the priorities of this government, of the next government, when the supplementary budget is being read.
One, there's the fact that the government still has to continue collecting the taxes.
The other two bills linked to the budget are the Division of Revenue Bill and the Budget and Appropriation Bill, which the law requires that they are tabled in Parliament 2 months before the budget is read.
Now, as we await Thursday, we also invite you to give us your views in as far as your expectations of the proposed budget that is to be presented to the country in Parliament on the 7th of April. This happens to be Thursday, or at exactly 3 p.m. by Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1. What are your expectations? A majority of Kenyans have said in previous Vox Pops that we carried out as KBC Channel 1, one of their priority and key areas of focus, they want the government to bring, or rather lower, the food prices. Well, we'll wait to see if this is going to be factored in come Thursday. Now we cross over to Matter Sports, where history was made at the Impala Stadium in Nairobi when Kisumu Winam defeated Rift Valley Ruffians from the Nakuru region 34-20 in the first ever Kenyan Rugby League Federation Grand Final.
Kisumu Winam defeated Rift Valley Ruffians in the first Rugby League final. Back rower Philemon Olang was the star performer, posting the opening 2 tries and having a hand in his sides for others. Kisumu leading 16-0 at the break. Victor Mola added 2 tries, with George Onjiko and Stephen Otiero scoring 1 apiece. Ruffians got their tries from Lucky Otieno and Felix Odhiambo, who each scored a brace late in the game. In the curtain raiser for 3rd place, Kitengela Sharks, who had topped the table going into the semi-finals, defeated Wolves 36-18. The Kenya Championship was made of 6 sides across the regions, Rhinos and Administration Police, Utawala being the others. Rugby League is a 13-a-side sport and does not line out. Mauls and scrums are not contested. A try is 4 points and a conversion carries 2.
Bring this to a close. Yes, Arsenal was playing against Crystal Palace yesterday night. And suffice to say, well, Arsenal did that thing that they always do. Well, they lost to Crystal Palace by quite a number of goals. But yes, as we said, supporting Arsenal should be included in 1,000 Ways to Die. Well, that brings us up to Matters News, but do stay right here. We have the dailies to sample for you in not too long.
vitimbi Jumatatu hii. Jumuika nasi siku ya Jumatatu ili upate uhondo kamili kwenye vitimbi. Hiyo basi usikose burudani tosha kila siku ya Jumanne hadi Alhamisi saa 1:35 katika tamthilia ya Maza.
Jack is my husband. Don't you think of stealing him away. If you don't want to meet me in court, you'd better leave him immediately.
You've married twice already. If you get another divorce, it will disgrace our family.
She also told me to teach you some manners. Stop going to their workplace just to cause trouble. That's foolish. Shannon, I can't live without you. I really can't live without you, Shannon.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
All right, let's now move on to the next part where we get to have a look at what the papers have for us this day. 4 different dailies. I have a copy of the Daily Nation here. I'll start you off with the main read, The Path to Power, Raila's big headache. They've gone on to flesh this story across 2 pages, highlighting some 4 or 5 key issues, 5 key issues that seem to be the biggest challenges in Raila's bid for presidency, given it is his 5th attempt. I will be giving you these details in just a bit of what these 5 challenges are. The other story is, of course, in regards to Aisha Jumwa's murder trial, with the first witness placing the Malindi MP at the scene of the crime. And of course, the story concerning the fuel crisis has also found its way on the front page of the Daily Nation. Hope at last and a relief as President Kenyatta approves a payment of oil marketers totaling to 13.3 billion Kenya shillings in fuel subsidy arrears. But tough times still loom for many Kenyans. This is a story that has also been captured here in a great deal. And of course, given the Deputy President did have quite a lot to say about it yesterday, here they go on to say Ruto lashes out at state over fuel and fertilizer costs. Of course, details will be coming up in a bit. And finally, why some top KCPE stars might miss their dream schools. And of course, on some bit of entertainment, the Grammys happened. Details in just a bit. Victor.
All right.
Ruto's UDA to splash 500 million shillings on primaries. That's on the front page of the Star. DP announces he'll be personally taking charge of April 14th nominations. Party to hire 100,000 polling clerks, 128 presiding officers and 47 returning officers. That is to the UDA. According to the UDA primaries that is held, that will be held on 14th of this month. Quickly onto the second page, Raila's road projects to open up Sleepy Turkana. He was speaking yesterday after when he took his campaign in Turkana, rather, ODM leader. He said that his administration would strive to end the region's years of marginalization. The former prime minister said that he has big plans to redress problems of insecurity, water shortages, weak education, livestock off-take, and yes, trade hurdles. That's according to Raila Odinga. And of course, to farmers, there is some sigh of relief there as state caps subsidized fertilizer to 20 bags per farmer, which was actually initially was going for, it was 5 bags per farmer. But then now, a bag of DAP fertilizer was sold at 6,000 bob and will now go for 2,800 shillings. Urea was 6,500. Now it's going to retail at 2,700 shillings. CAN 3,900, etc., etc. You can take a look at that as well. And quickly, public uproar forces Uhuru to release oil marketers' payment. That was done yesterday. The president released 34.4 billion shillings to oil subsidy kit meant to cushion consumers from high fuel prices in the global market. So we are likely to see how it's going to pan out in the coming days. So that was happening. On the other hand, the DP was also actually blaming, according to what Jen has also mentioned, that he blamed corrupt cartels officials for deepening fuel shortage in the country. That is what happened yesterday as far as fuel shortage is concerned. Doreen.
All right, a reprieve to Murang'a women representative, that is Sabina Shege, after a high court squashed summons that were issued to her by the IEBC, and there are various reasons that the high court cited, among them including the fact that IEBC as an electoral body does not have powers to issue summons. So that is a reprieve there to the Murang'a women representative. We also have that story concerning the UDA primaries, the PD going by the header. It is an acid test for Ruto in UDA outfit. Primaries, just as Victor has mentioned there, whereby the nominations are slated to happen on the 14th of this month. So far, going by this particular report, it shows that they have at least so far printed 30 million ballots already, and they are just waiting to conclude on 15 million ballots, saying that so far this is a party that has attracted 6,000 aspirants, and what their aim is to ensure that there's free and fair nominations, is that at least a majority of these aspirants undergo that the nomination process. And also the deputy president is saying that he is hands-on on this exercise, as he has been personally supervising this exercise for the past 2 days as it pertains to the ballot papers, and he is also going to supervise even as they get to the nominations there. We also have obviously that story concerning the fuel shortage in this country and the crisis they are in, and at least a reprieve for marketers as they get the 34 billion subsidy fund. And clearly there's been a lot that is still being said concerning this issue in terms of where did we get here, questions surrounding panic buying, as it was mentioned by the PS yesterday, citing that this could have been one of the biggest reasons to why we are here concerning this fuel issue. Also the question of non-payment to the oil marketers. But even as this has been passed and this money is going to be released, we still are waiting to see if at all things are going to change, and the sooner the better for Kenyans. And also a relief for job seekers on clearance papers rule, even as this also was assented by the president yesterday, whereby employers will now not be asking for some of the certificates, particularly the clearance certificate, from people that are seeking jobs, as they were saying that this is very costly for just first-time graduate to be able to get access to this certificate as first-time job seekers. So that is a reprieve for job seekers there. And lastly, fast-track construction of CBC classrooms. That is what the Cabinet Secretary of Education is saying, and this is after he was doing he just went to assess some of the private schools, and he says that private institutions are really taking this construction very slow. They are not up to par compared to their other counterparts. He says that this needs to be fast-tracked, even as they await for grade 6 pupils to transit to junior secondary school. That is how the PD looks like this morning. Regina.
On this particular daily, matters of that fuel shortage and the disbursement of 34 billion shillings and how it has changed the fuel shortage issue. Actually, the header goes, how 34 billion shillings dispute pushed Kenyans into a fuel shortage. And the mugshots from the front page just show long queues as motorists queue at various petrol stations all the way from the weekend up until yesterday, with now all marketers informing the public that even with the disbursement of this money and the signing into law and the bill authorizing Treasury to pay oil companies, it will take up until 10 days for normalcy to resume at the pump. So kindly, I heard somewhere, actually on radio, someone saying that you do not need to overspeed. So if you do 100 and 150, up to 150, you need to reduce and drive a little bit slow. I don't know if there's logic in driving slow and spending and using or consuming less in as far as fuel is concerned. So, well, if it works, fine. If you can carpool up until the fuel issue is resolved, well and good. All the point is that you need to be smart. You need to survive. So away from matters of fuel, there's the issue of CBC and matters, of higher education there, with Education Cabinet Secretary directing private institutions to comply with the demands of the competency-based curriculum, and that is building extra classrooms before the new program is rolled out. And also matters of national importance, especially now that we are headed to the elections that are just barely 4-5 months away. On the August 9th, an aspirant in Kisii was hacked to death just 3 days to ODM nominations. Following this particular murder, most foul, so to speak, aspirants from ODM in Kisii County have been calling for the postponement of the nominations, citing also inconsistencies that are coupled to insecurity following the murder of Nairobi-based businessman who traveled to Kisii to take part in the ODM primaries. May his soul rest in peace, and the perpetrators found and brought to book. Also matters of issues to do with the counties is that we have a focus now into the gold mines in Migori, where the allure of gold beats fear of death. Remember, Kenya is still practicing artisanal mining, and people go down those mine shafts with no safety equipment. And over the last few months, especially towards the end of last year, we had cases where miners were trapped down the shafts, and unfortunately some bodies are yet to be retrieved, and rescue efforts were quite a tall order. On matters business is that Kenyans save up to 32 billion shillings on M-Shwari. Kenyans save 32 billion shillings on M-Shwari. That's a story that has captured the scribes in as far as business is concerned. That's just but a sneak peek of the daily that I have with me, Jane.
Now, let me bring you back to the Daily Nation and just add some bit of details as has been captured here in regards to the fuel crisis. Of course, we all heard what the Deputy President had to say about that, questioning the whereabouts of the 39 billion Kenya shillings that was set for the Petroleum Development Fund, Levy Fund, that was meant for the fuel subsidy program. Of course, him saying that it was diverted to pay debts and develop infrastructure without the approval of Parliament, set the social platforms ablaze with so many comments. But aside from that, there were parts of the countries that were experiencing the harshest end of this particular road when it comes to the fuel shortage, and this was specific to Western Nyanza and the North Rift. These are the areas that are said to have been hardest hit by the biting fuel shortage. Kisumu, Kakamega, Eldoret, and Bungoma were the hardest hit towns, and motorists in these particular towns actually said they were charged up to 240 Kenya shillings for a litre of fuel from the previous 134 shillings and 72 cents that was set by April last month. And so many passengers were also stranded due to the hiked fares in the North Rift region. But according to the Petroleum Principal Secretary, that is Andrew Kamau, he told this particular daily that looking at these particular areas, the acute shortage in this region was due to cash flow challenges that are faced by small oil marketing companies that are operating in this area. So according to him, the bigger oil companies that have for the past 20 years given this region or rather considered it as a dumping area for cheap fuel that is meant for export. All right. Now he went to indicate that we have about 2,762 fueling stations in Kenya, but when it comes to the transporting of this cheap fuel that is meant for export, it is dumped in this area and then resold to the people in that particular area. So you find that it's not of good quality, and also they get to experience the harsh effects of what we just saw. But yesterday they did say that, you know, we're not having a shortage of fuel in the country, it was just being hoarded. Actually, they did put the figures to about 80,000 cubic meters of super petrol, which is said to is expected to last about 9 days in the country, and a surplus of over 200,000 liters of diesel, which is expected to last about 22 days. So the question is now the relationship between the oil marketers and the government, and now the common mwananchi will have to bear the brunt. Now, moving away from this story concerning fuel, let me bring you to now some bit of politics that has been captured here on this daily. It is actually one of the main reads on the front page. UDA primaries pose a logistical, political nightmare for Deputy President William Ruto. So UDA are preparing for their primaries, which are set to take place on the 14th of April this month. And in what has been termed as a political and logistical nightmare is so because UDA plans to conduct all the nominations from civic to senatorial races in one day. Okay. According to the Deputy President, he said that they have been working so hard behind the scenes to ensure that preparation takes place. We did see ODM spread out the dates, and they will use as many dates as available to them between the 1st and the 21st of April to conduct their primaries and pick their candidates. But according to UDA, all the aspirants will compete for the party's tickets in the different elective posts, all on Thursday next week. So they plan to hire at least 100,000 clerks, or actually they've already hired. These were the statements of Deputy President William Ruto yesterday. He said they have hired 100,000 clerks who will be trained between the 11th and the 12th of April. They have procured some 30 million ballot papers that will actually have the pictures of all the aspirants. Okay, they don't want to borrow anything from IEBC. Those were his words. He has also gone ahead to say that they have recruited 47 returning officers that will be in charge of the primaries in each and every county. And according to UDA, they have at least 6.9 million registered members. So again, primaries will be happening on the 14th. 30 million ballot papers, colored for that matter, with pictures of the aspirants. They will have a serial number, watermarked, 100,000 clerks already employed, 47 county returning officers, 128 constituency returning officers, and 17 ambassadors to help oversee this matter. Victor.
And just to add on top of that, actually they also said that for the governors, they'll hold their primaries on 12th, Senate 19th, and woman representative positions on 27 in 27 representative 27 counties. That is okay. Bill raises age criminal of criminal capability to 12 years. Now, existing law says that a child below 8 years cannot be prosecuted. Presently, Section 14(1) of the Penal Code provides for minimum age of criminal culpability and responsibility at 8 years, and a provision that is seen as against local and international laws. Now, the Child Justice Bill 2022, sponsored by Suba North MP Milu Odhiambo, seeks to provide that no prosecution shall be instituted for persons under the age of 12. Let's see how that will go. Now, as we are complaining about money, most counties are not utilizing released funds, according to Nyakango. And Control of Budget says that those are not ready to spend their monies get money faster. So this is it. Last week, the Council of Governors, through Finance Committee Chairman Deritu Mureithi of Laikipia, who is the Laikipia governor, said that the Treasury is yet to release 98.97 billion shillings to the counties. So this is the thing. Out of 370 billion shillings allocated to the counties in the current financial year, the Treasury has so far released 214.31 billion shillings as of March 31st, leaving a balance of 153.63 billion shillings. That's a heavy word. 300 billion. Mouthful, all right? So 17 accused of stoning Raila Chopper to be detained for 7 days. This, according to the prosecution. The prosecutor told court that they damaged Chopper, whose value exceeds 300 million shillings. Today we are talking matters, billions, millions, in the hundreds. And that is it. So just our neighbors, Norfolk is back to business after 21 months of closure, which was actually necessitated by the COVID pandemic. And the good thing is that they have taken at least 140 of its employees, 70% of its previous workforce, which I think is good in terms of employment. And yeah, something that you didn't know, it's 116 years old. Started operating in 1904. Where were you, Doreen? 1904.
Achanga jokes, Victor. I wasn't even an idea. Hata sikuwa idea.
Okay. Sawa, tumalize na michezo kidogo. And in sports, all systems go. And now, Kenya under-20 prospects we start their training today ahead of show in Cali. That is according to Athletics Kenya Youth Development Director Barnaba Koreu, who said that they have identified 25 camps across the country, and training will run from today until April 23rd. So if you are under 20 and you need to participate, it is your time. Doreen.
All right, and Kirinyaga Women Representative is now saying and asking residents to embrace women leadership. This, as she says, is going to be one of the reasons that we are going to attain this 2/3 gender rule that is constantly always a conversation, year in, year out, just saying that it is important for Kenyans, and speaking at her area, saying that it is important again for these residents and Kenyans as a whole to just embrace women leadership and not to reject them in any way. And also, even as that is happening, over 100 prosecutors will now receive lessons on handling hate speech during this election period, and also pertaining to matters of election-related offences. We've clearly had of some of this sentiments concerning hate speech, and now as it stands is that these 100 prosecutors and stakeholders have now started this one-week training on prosecution of election offences and hate speech during this campaign period and election period altogether. The office of the DPP has as of last month, they launched the guidelines on electoral justice, which was as of yesterday followed up by the training, which is supposed to take a total of of 1 week. So these guidelines are intended to standardize and ensure consistency in prosecution of election-related offences, economic crimes committed in the context of elections, as well as matters to do with hate speech, sexual and gender-based violence, particularly again during this time. Remember that over time we've also had reports whereby SGBV is oftentimes meted amongst women, particularly during this period of elections. So also that is going to be tackled, as well as issues to do with cybercrime and also computer misuse. And again, just coming back to the hotel industry, them being on way back, getting back to how they were before COVID, that is pre-COVID days, and this is after a survey was done where it shows that the level of employment in the hotel industry was at 83% of the pre-COVID levels in March 2022, and is expected to even hit 100% by the end of the year. This was a survey done by the Central Bank of Kenya. Also, further, what it shows is that recovery in the hotel industry is being driven largely by domestic tourists, with the local tourists accounting for over 70% of the visitors. That is what also that survey shows. So even much as, yes, the COVID hit the country, and of course the hotel industry was one of the affected industry, going by this particular report, it shows that as of December this year, they expect to hit at least over 100%. This is how it were before the COVID. Regina.
Now, off to some entertainment here is that Kenyans also made it to the Grammys. Kenyan A-listers grace the Grammys as bigwigs mark historic event. Now, some of the top names that actually made to this list and got the awards include Mark Mbogo, better known as KC, flew the Kenyan flag high after getting the first ever Grammy. We also have, after this year's edition, Victoria Kimani's fourth album Spirit Animal, and Kisumu-based Emota Gabirom 2, Necessaries Jenny's EP, and number 9 Octopizzo's Jungle Fever LP had all their opposites up for nomination consideration but fell short at the last minute. However, Naiboy, Michael Bundi, Waire, Tanzania's Nandi all received nomination stripes for their notable contributions on Jamaica's Etana's Pamoja LP. Now the tracks were Legacy, Pamoja, The One, and Melanin, for which were all featured artists and songwriters. However, the person who took the show or took the day was none other than Mark Mbogo, KC, for his penship on Hurricane by featuring Lil Baby, The Weeknd, for the best melodic rap performance, where his vocals feature impressively. When he was receiving this, and actually was receiving this, he went on Twitter, and this is what he wrote. God, thank you for so much. I'ma thank you out loud as many times as I remember to. Congratulations, KC, the first Kenyan to win a Grammy for his penmanship. That is something to celebrate, especially now that, we have been having local artists coming out and say, play KE music, play Kenyan music and such. It's good to see that, some awards of international repute getting to our very own locals. Now, today, the case against Malindi MP goes on from the corridors of justice, and we have Ben Troy Njoy who's going to be keeping tabs on that. This follows developments where several witnesses took to the stand. Among them confirmed the presence of Malindi MP, and also saying that she was inciting supporters, but she was not armed. 200 are the number of people who are reportedly meeting at the current Ganda MCA Ruben Katana's home on the night of the shooting incident. We'll be keeping tabs on that. That's just but a sneak peek of some of the stories that have been adequately fleshed out for you in this particular daily that I'm having with me this morning, also including why now some aspirants and the ODM are calling for, the postponement of the nominations. And this is after the killing of a Nairobi-based businessman who was aspiring to be an MCA down there in Kisii County. And some of them are saying that, they are scared for their lives. They're also garnering for nomination and such. Is this an issue, an isolated issue, or does it have to do with the nomination? So many questions are there, but we need to remember that we need to be politically tolerant of divergent views. Asiyekubali kushindwa si mshindani, so to speak. And also there's a special report in this particular paper that is just looking at, possible, or rather trying to preempt what Ukuri Attorney, that's the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, is going to be presenting come Thursday, 3 p.m. as it presents the proposed budget, the 3.3 trillion shillings budget there. Just looking at the areas that are likely to be top in as far as, priority is concerned. So now under the big four, and this is food security, manufacturing, universal health and affordable housing. Over the last years, like look at between 2018 and 2019 financial year, the big four agenda actually in totality, in entirety, all those sectors were allocated 460 billion shillings. In 2019-2020, 450.9 billion shillings. 2020-2021, 128.3 billion shillings. The financial year that culminates, that was supposed to culminate in June, but now with the new changes being that it's a transition time, given that we're going into the elections, it received 142.1 billion shillings. So the question is, what happens after 7th? Are they still going to be receiving priority? Remember, this Big Four agenda has been part of President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy there, and so many stakeholders and experts have come out to just, try and preempt what is going to be presented. And I'd want to quote one or two, and want to quote Ken Gishinga, who is a chief economist at Mentoria Economics, and he says, pricing remains key, and even when the phrase affordable housing is used, but the price varies, and in many instances way above what the buyers would be offering. This is answering the question, has affordable housing as a project, come to fruition? Remember, this was part of the Big Four agenda, President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. What is affordable, or how affordable is the affordable housing project in as far as the units available are concerned? Now, according to Samuel Nyandemo, who is a development economist, and says there have been numerous challenges that compromise the full implementation of the Big Four. Now, a lot of resources were diverted to deal with such challenges such as COVID-19. In the run-up to the budget presentation on Thursday, we are asking you to get in touch with us on our various social media platforms, including a Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1. What are your expectations of the budget? What do you really want to see given priority in that particular fiscal policy? What are your expectations? I know so many. Maybe we can do randomly before we bring this to a close. Let's start off with Doreen. What are your expectations of your budget come Thursday, of the budget? What would you want the government to actually prioritize?
I think even as we talk about the Big Four agenda, food security is still a very pertinent issue. And right now we clearly know there's high cost of living in this country. And even as we talk about the fuel being a challenge and the fuel shortage, we know, as it was mentioned, that we expect for this to start taking effect after 10 days. And even as after that happens, we still expect the prices of goods to go high. So clearly, even as we anticipate this budget coming on Thursday, on 7th of April, I feel my personal perspective as a Kenyan is that can we address the issue of food security and ultimately the high cost of living in this country altogether?
Food security, the cost of living. Victor, if you were on the hot seat come Thursday, what areas would you prioritize in as far as budget is concerned?
Still, I think most Kenyans are grappling with high cost of living, basically. So, talk of cooking gas, talk of the cooking oil, talk of kerosene, how the government is going to, to make sure that each and every person get that better life. You know what I mean? So, if the cost of living will be tackled properly, then I think each and every Kenyan will have something to smile about. So, mafuta ya kupikia, number one, because most families depend on that. So kerosene, those who are not able to afford a liter of kerosene. Yatani, health, that's quite important as well. And education, now that most students are going to school come the next term, we need to see how they're going to budget and how going to cater for the education system. That, according to me, Ukuru Yatani should factor.
Jane, if you are on the top 6 and you were given that opportunity to make a few changes to the budget that is set to be presented on Thursday, which areas would you focus on?
Well, I love the fact that you brought in the whole aspect of the Big Four agenda, and considering today's Tuesday, we have our health segment. And if you guys know, for the past 2 years, the health of the country has been brought to its knees due to the pandemic, and that brings in the question of funding when it comes to the budget that is allocated for health. Last year it was about 114 billion, which is actually 115 billion, which is way lower than what was allocated prior to the pandemic. And when you look at the stats, the figures, our country has a deficit of about 95 billion when it comes to funding the health sector. In order for our health sector to function properly at optimum, we need at least a surplus of 200 billion. And now we have UHC that was officially rolled out across the country. And you guys remember the president actually said that so many Kenyans are one medical bill away from poverty. Just one medical bill. So now looking at, again, as you've rightfully put it, the state of our economy. So many people cannot afford to have 3 decent meals a day. Cooking oil imepanda, mafuta imepanda, that is oil and petroleum products imepanda bei, maziwa imepanda bei. Say a packet is retailing at 60 shillings plus, and that is 500 ml. So, of course, health being at the center of it all is one of the areas that I've loved to see what the president has to say, considering the out-of-pocket money that people have to pay, what the government has to pay, and of course our reliance on donors, given they contribute the biggest chunk of funding for the health sector.
So food security, cost of FMG, that is fast-moving consumer goods, including more regulation on petroleum products, especially to support use of clean energy and, moving away from matters of kerosene and such. Those are some of the areas that I'm seeing that you would focus on if you were, seated on the hot seat come Thursday as far as the budget is concerned. On my end, I would be looking at, our tax bracket. And I would want to implore the government to really consider slashing the cost of VAT. Everybody pays VAT. If they would reduce VAT, at least the cost of a majority of the consumer goods that are vatable goods would come down, and everyone would benefit. And also when it comes to the formal sector, there needs to be a review on the PAYE relief. That for me would actually mean more money into your pocket, you and I, into your pocket. But now I'm looking at the dynamics where the country is also focusing on, leapfrogging the economy, the economic growth after COVID-19, and I wouldn't want to be in the spot that Ukuru Yatani is at in the moment, looking at also our debt ratio to GDP. We have had, divergent views with some experts saying we're not supposed to be looking at the nominal, but we should be looking at, the real GDP to calculate our growth. There's also been talk of, some of the major debts that Kenya has incurred are coming to maturity in June, one of them being owed to the World Bank. What plans are out there? Remember, debt restructuring has been one of the things that auditors have come out and tax experts are saying that this is something that really Kenya needs to consider, given that we are missing our targets in as far as revenue collection is concerned. We are just coming out from the COVID-19 situation. If these debts are to be paid, then we need to really restructure this debt, not entirely not pay, but restructure it in such a way our repayment of debt does not hamper government activities and also does not hamper development. But further conversations around matters of budget are going to be tackled on Thursday in our special broadcast there, as we await to have Ukur Yatani there, the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, present that proposed budget of 3.3 trillion shillings. Last year, it was around 3 trillion shillings, and there was a deficit in terms of, funding there that was to be plugged by borrowing up to a tune of 890 billion shillings. There's been talk and a lot of pressure also to Central Bank of Kenya there to review the interest rates, especially from the private sector. So this is also something that we are going to be keenly focusing on. We also welcome your feedback, and our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1.
Now, as we bring this segment to a close, Victor, you had mentioned that story concerning the suspects that were arrested in relation to the attack on Raila Odinga.
The 17 of them.
The 17 of them.
Yeah.
They have a number of charges that are going to be leveled against them, including attempted murder, incitement to violence, malicious damage to property, creating disturbance in a manner likely to breach peace, and they are also looking to level some poll-related charges to them because they consider this area to be one of those regions that are known to be hotspots for election violence. So that is one of the charges that they're also going to be facing. However, they're going to remain in custody for the next 7 days as the investigations continue because according to the prosecution, they said that due to the gravity of the matter being investigated and the weight of the charges likely to be preferred to this gentleman, it will be an incentive for the respondents. If released, they are considered a flight risk.
Gravity of the matter it is.
End of quote. Yes.
Right. I know it's not a laughing matter, but yeah, as you said, pun intended. So, which flight risk? I mean...
Until the investigation is concluded, they were actually proposing that they be held for 21 days, but the court says you have 7 days to conclude your investigations, and then they will face the full force
but I think
of the law.
Basically, I think it's a good step because violence, we cannot manage as a country to go back to where we were years ago. If you are caught breaking the law, I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. So if you're a suspect, just face the law. And by the way, any other politician planning to do the same, Tumalizane and I. Okay. Shortly, we'll be crossing over to Radio Taifa. We expect that discussion with the ANC party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, with our radio sister team the other side. And they have got plenty to talk about. Matters economy, matters politics, and so much more. That is coming up shortly.
The management, staff and students of Merisho School wish to convey our congratulatory message to the KCPE candidates on their well-deserved success. Well done and congratulations on passing the 2021 KCPE exams. Your talent, dedication, and hard work have led you to victory. Mary Show School, home of the boy child.
Get ready for the next big thing.
A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman.
So we need to start bringing out the profession in a woman. When we demonstrate, they will come when we've been tear gassed, not when we want to pass the message.
The Dada's Show is back, a show where women get to be themselves and discuss real issues.
She cannot allow other women to come on the same space because she's getting different privileges from men. So akiona mwanamke, ako like, this is a competitor.
This being an election year, we have given an opportunity to women to express themselves and share their expectations during this critical moment in our country.
The issue of corruption and how it has impacted women and children in this country.
Create jobs for the informal sector, create jobs for the youth who leave the universities. Ataki bora uongozi, tunataka uongozi bora.
Keep your heels, head, and standards high. Dadas, coming soon.
Kitwek FM Kigosi, Kitwek FM Kigosi, 98.0 Kitwek FM Kigosin.
ya moja kwa moja. Naam, barabara kabisa mtazamaji wa KBC Channel 1 mahali popote ulipo. Ni furaha iliyoje asubuhi ya leo tunapojiunga pamoja kwenye mpango mzima wa kipindi Zinga kwenye KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya. Kipindi mtazamaji ambao vile vile pia kinakujia kwenye runinga yako ya kitaifa ya KBC Channel 1 kwenye mpango mzima wa Good Morning Kenya. Mimi naitwa Rashid Mwamkondo.
Na mimi nafahamika kama Mwajuma Ali. Msikilizaji, kumbuka kwamba ukiwa unatusikiliza maeneo ya Mombasa unatupata vizuri kupitia 101.8. Kwa wale ambao uko Nairobi unatupata kupitia 92.9, Kisumu ni 104.5, bila kusahau Nakuru unatupata vizuri ukiwa unatusikiliza kupitia 104.1. Na leo tumesema kwamba ni siku ya baraka, Rashid. Umenitajia kitu ambacho kweli naona kwamba baraka zinazidi kumimina ndani ya studio.
Ndiyo.
Naona kwamba pia sura zetu ziko na bashasha fulani na mweko fulani hivi, Rashid, pia unapendeza tu sana. Na tuko na mgeni ndani ya studio.
Naam. Bila shaka msikilizaji, bila kupoteza nukta, sekunde, wala dakika, msikilizaji wa redio zetu zote zinazotangaza kwa lugha ya mama, zile mbili za kitaifa, KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya na KBC English Service, bila kusahau mama yetu mkubwa ambao ni KBC Channel 1 ndani ya Good Morning Kenya. Tumkaribishe ndani ya studio Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi. Asante sana mheshimiwa kwa kuweza kuitikia mwito wetu kujiunga nasi asubuhi ya leo ndani ya Radio Taifa, stesheni zetu zinazotangaza kwa lugha ya mama na runinga yetu ya KBC Channel 1. Karibu sana, jisi huru.
Asante sana Rashid na pia Chozi.
Naam.
Na umeshika majina yetu haraka.
Nimeshika Rashid na Chozi na labda baadaye nitatoa machozi. Habari yenu?
Tunashukuru sana. Tunashukuru Mungu, asante. Karibu sana.
Hali iko vipi mheshimiwa, weekend yako imekuaje?
Imekuwa sawa. Weekend hii tulia kidogo tupange mambo kwa sababu tulikuwa tumefanya siasa kwa muda wa wiki nzima. Tukamalizia kule Lamu. Alafu tukarudi Nairobi. Kwa hivyo tena wiki hii kuanzia sasa tukitoka hapa kwa studio mikutano zetu zinaanza.
By the way, mheshimiwa, kabla kuanza mahojiano yetu ya moja kwa moja, nyinyi upumzika saa ngapi?
Wakati huu hakuna muda wa kupumzika.
Mnakula kweli?
Tunajaribu. Unajua kwa ziara ya siasa kama hii, unabeba ndizi kwa gari. Ama ukifika pahali unakunywa maji, unabeba ndizi pale, alafu unaendelea siku nzima mpaka jioni. Yeah.
Alright, umesikia maneno hayo Choice.
Watu wanabeba mpaka ndizi. Huyo ndo unatembea nayo, unakula, unaendelea na shughuli.
Kabisa.
Hakuna kulala.
Alright kabisa. Basi mtazamaji, kumbuka kipindi hiki kinakujia moja kwa moja kwenye runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1 kwenye kipindi Good Morning Kenya, ambapo wenzetu Ray Manyara, Jane yuko pale, Doreen yuko pale na Victor uko na sauti nzito Buda, wanaweza kutufuatilia. Labda tu nikianza swali langu la kwanza moja kwa moja, Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, kutokana na matukio ya hivi juzi ambapo mtazamaji ama msikilizaji, ni kwamba kabla wewe kuweza kujiunga na mrengo wa Kenya Kwanza, ulikuwa unapigia debe sana BBI, na hivi majuzi ulifurahia baada mahakama ya juu kutoa uamuzi wake kwamba BBI haikufuata sheria. Ni nini kilikubadilisha?
Ndugu, unajua watu wanakataa kufuatilia historia yangu na matamshi yangu kuhusu BBI vilivyo. Na labda leo nitasema ili watu waelewe. Wakati tulikuwa kwa Bomas 1 kuhusu mambo ya BBI, kama mkikumbuka, ni mimi nilisimama pale nikasema agenda ya Kenya ya kwanza ni uchumi, ya pili ni uchumi, ya tatu ni uchumi. Na nikasema huu mjadala wa BBI, kama wanataka ufaulu, itabidi wahusishe wa Kenya wote vilivyo. Tukija kwa mkutano wa BBI 2, na wakati tulimaliza BBI Bomas 1, walisema wataenda kurekebisha vipengele kadhaa. Tukarudi kwa Bomas 2, tena nikarudia yale. Mkifata mna clips za hizo, wanazo zote. Nikasema bado hajakuwa sawa. Wakajaribu kurekebisha kidogo. Hata tukakuwa na mkutano kule Ikulu, tukiwa na Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, tukiwa na wakati wote na Raila, na Weta na wengine wakina Orengo walikuwa kule. Tukajadiliana, tukasema bado kuna vipengele ambavyo havije tengenezwa sawa na vitaleta shida. Kwa mfano, niliwaambia itakuwaje nyinyi mnataka muweke yule anaitwa watchman kwa judiciary, kwa mahakama wanamuita ombudsman. Wewe executive unataka wewe unateua ombudsman. Tukamwambia kitu hiki kitavunja mgongo wa BBI, muiondoe. Watu wakanipigia kelele kule, wakifikiri kwamba mimi hawakutaka kusikiza mawazo ya Wakenya wakati huo. Sasa wakati mambo haya yalienda kotini, ukipima vizuri mambo ambayo tulikuwa tunawakanya warekebishe, wajadiliane na Wakenya, na wakakataa kusikia, ndio yale majaji wote walikuwa wakitaja kwamba ni kinyume ya sheria. Kwa hivyo mimi msimamo wangu haujabadilika, na kile ambacho mimi nilisema kwamba we gave them benefit of doubt mwanzoni, kwamba wasione kwamba sisi hatutaki uridhiano katika Kenya, kwamba hatutaki wa Kenya waungane, kwa sababu hiyo ndio ilikuwa propaganda walikuwa wakituma. Lakini in two-way traffic, tukiwapatia mawazo basi msikize pia. Lakini hawa jamaa wetu wa handshake, kusema ukweli, walikuwa na nia ya kusema kwamba huu ulikuwa mkataba kati yao wawili, huu ulikuwa agenda yao wawili, na mwanzoni walikuwa nasema ni agenda ya kuunganisha wa Kenya. Lakini tumegundua kiwazi kwamba hiyo agenda ya handshake, agenda ya BBI haikuwa tu kuleta wa Kenya pamoja, ilikuwa agenda ya succession, lakini walikuwa wakificha. Sasa mimi ni binadamu, tukigundua kile walikuwa wameficha, ni kwa nini nizidi kuzungumza ati tuko sawa, na walikuwa wameficha kiini cha hiyo handshake na kiini cha hiyo BBI mwanzoni.
Na pengine kabla kuweza kumpisha mwenzangu kwa nukta hiyo, Kenya ilipata katiba yake mpya mnamo Agosti mwaka 2010. Sasa tuko mwaka wa 2022. Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, je, Kenya inastahiki ama inataka mabadiliko ya kikatiba?
Mabadiliko ya kikatiba hufanyika mara kwa mara, na tulikuwa tumesema kwamba mabadiliko yasiwe until tumemaliza karibu miaka 10. Kwa sababu hata tulipopitisha katiba yetu ya 2010, Wakenya walisema kwamba 80% ya yale walikuwa wanapenda yako katika katiba mpya, lakini yale 20 ambayo yalikuwa yamebakia kwa muda watajaribu kurekebisha yale yako pale. Kwa hivyo kuna nafasi hivyo kulingana na katiba, lakini ni lazima tuzingatie utaratibu ambayo umepangwa wa kubadilisha katiba. Sasa BBI haikuwa inafuata zile kanuni ambazo zimewekwa, na jambo hili walikuwa wakikumbushwa kila mara, wakakataa kusikiza. Kwa hivyo tukienda mbele, ikiwa tunataka tubadilishe kipengele chochote katika katiba ya Kenya, ni lazima sasa tutii sheria na tufate utaratibu ambao uko kwa hiyo katiba.
Umetaja swala la ombudsman ndani ya BBI na tumeona kwamba mahakama ya juu imekataa kabisa, imetupilia mbali swala la BBI. Unafikiria ni kwa nini BBI labda ilikosa kupita mitihani mbalimbali tangu uzinduzi wake wa miaka 3 sasa iliyopita?
Kile ambacho kilifanya ni kwa kifupi ni ile hali ya watu kuwa selfish. Unajua kuna wengine wakishapata mamlaka wanafikiri sasa wana mamlaka kama ya kifalme, wanaweza fanya lolote ambalo wanataka, wakasahau kwamba Kenya imebadilika. Kuna wasomi wengi wameherebuka, wanajua kujisomea katiba, wanajua kujisomea mambo ya kisheria. Kwa hivyo mimi naona mahakama za Kenya, na unajua iko kwa mpira kuna kile wanaita hat-trick. Mtu kama ni Ronaldo ama Messi anafunga mabao 3 mfululizo. Sasa wewe kulikuwa na hat-trick kwa haya mambo ya BBI, kwa sababu hat-trick ya kwanza ilitoka kwa High Court. Wakasema hii sheria ni kinyume, haiambatani na hii mambo ya BBI haiambatani na sheria. Wakaenda kwa Court of Appeal, wakagongo bao lingine. Wakaenda Supreme Court, wamegongo bao lingine. Hiyo ni hat-trick. Kwa wale ambao wanajua mambo ya mpira. Sasa hiyo ni dalili ya kuonyesha kwamba ikiwa una
pita. Kwa nini ukajiunga na mrengo?
Hii ni mambo ya siasa. Kwa sababu na sio mara ya kwanza mimi tumekuwa kwa mrengo. Tukiangalia na wadadisi wa kisiasa wakiangalia vizuri, watakuja kuona kwamba mambo ya coalition building sasa imemea mizizi zaidi katika siasa za Kenya. Tukianzia kule nyuma, tukiwa na wale walikuwa na CORD na wale 2013 wale Jubilee na URP, baadaye tukaunda NASA, na sasa tuko pale tuliko. Na hata hapa awali wanakumbuka Kibaki alishinda wakishaweka ile NAC, Rainbow Coalition. Kwa hivyo mambo ya coalition building ni lazima sasa tufahamu it's part of our politics. ama our political formations culture. Kwa hivyo sio kitu kipya. Kwa hivyo tukiangalia vile tumeona na vile ulivyoona Azimio ni kama ni mradi wa serikali, hatufichi.
Kwa nini unasema hivyo mheshimiwa?
Hata rais wa taifa ametoa kiwazi kwamba yeye anapendelea kule, anarekebisha chama chake cha Jubilee ambacho kilikuwa kimesambaratika, anajaribu kukiunga ili wawe kwa ile formation moja. Hata ile sahihi walikuwa kiweka, si waliweka wakiwa na watu wa Jubilee. Kwa hivyo yeye yuko upande ule na hatufichi. Tumeona kwamba wanatumia hata facilities za kiserikali, hata ukijaribu kuficha, Mkenya yote anaweza ona kwamba
Mheshimiwa, facilities kama gani?
Wewe chozi bado hujaona kwamba ukiona mipangilio ama rallies za hawa jamaa na nini, hauoni kuna state presence kubwa sana? Hii ni kiwazi. Kwa hivyo sisi tukaona tukitaka tusaidie wa Kenya, kwa sababu mrengo ule ni mrengo ambao unataka uzidi kwa kile nilitoa kwa hotuba yangu kusema mambo ya self preservation. Ni lazima wa Kenya wapate nafasi ya kujiondoa kwa hiyo hali ya self preservation, na kama ni hivyo sisi tuache mambo ya ubinafsi. Na ndio kwa sababu nikasema basi kama wa Kenya ikiwa tunataka tuepuke na huu mtindo wa kisiasa, basi ni lazima tubadilishe strategy. Ndio tarehe 23 nikafanya kile ambacho kilishtua taifa letu. Nikaleta earthquake. Nikasema hakuna njia nyingine, lazima tufanye kitu ambacho kitaleta msisimko wa ardhi kwa mambo ya kisiasa katika taifa letu. Na tangu siku hiyo nyinyi wenyewe mnatazama Kenya imebadilika, siasa ya Kenya imebadilika vilivyo, kwa sababu ni lazima tuwe na mrengo na wale ambao wako na nia tofauti na wale wanataka kukuwa na mambo ya self preservation. Na sisi katika mrengo wa Kenya Kwanza, juhudi letu ni kuokoa uchumi wa taifa letu. Economy ndio agenda kuu, ajira za vijana, haki, wafanyabiashara wawe sawa, wakulima wapate haki yao na kadhalika, mambo ya kubadilisha uchumi wa Kenya. Na ndugu, wewe na mimi tunaona mambo ya ajabu. Ni lini tuliona milolongo za watu katika petrol station? I can tell you for free, the last time kulikuwa na milolongo ya petroli katika Kenya hii ilikuwa wakati tulikuwa kwa mrengo wa price controls in the 90s. Ndio tulikuwa tunafanya hivyo, na mimi kama waziri wa fedha tukafanya liberalization, tukaondoa price controls. Lakini sasa tumeona maajabu. Tunaambiwa hii ni matatizo tu kidogo na nini, na hii ni symptom ya kuonyesha kwamba kuna shida katika mambo yetu ya kiuchumi. Kwa sababu mbona Uganda hawana shida, hakuna milolongo za petroli kule Uganda, na petroli yao inapita hapa, ndugu yangu. Kabla haijafika Uganda inapita hapa, hawana shida kule, hata bei yao iko chini. Lakini hapa kuna milolongo katika petrol stations, alafu wanatuambia hakuna shortage, hiyo petroli iko kama pipeline. Ni maajabu. Na nimegusia tu kitu kimoja tu. Hata juzi nimeona sasa waziri wa kilimo anasema tutapeana fertilizer kwa registered farmers peke yake. My friend, Kenya is a peasant farming nation. Wakulima wengi sana hawako registered. Registered ni kumaanisha nini? Registered na NCPB. Kenyans wanakula more than 36 million bags of maize every year. Cereal board inaweza nunua 6 million peke yake wakipewa pesa. Kwa hivyo wewe unasema utapeana fertilizer kwa registered farmers peke yake. Hii ndio zile cartels tunasema unataka tena urudie. Hawa registered farmers watakuwa nani? Watakuwa wafanya biashara ambao wana ujuzi wa kusema ni mko registered hapa, wapewe fertilizer, waende kuuza kwenye. Tunataka wakulima wote wawe na access kwa hiyo fertilizer. Tusiwaambiwe tunatafuta registered farmers peke yake.
Shikilia hapo mheshimiwa.
Sasa Rashid, unaona chozi. Ukisikia haya unaweza toa machozi pia. Kwa sababu ni maajabu.
Shikilia hapo mheshimiwa. Mtazamaji wa KBC Channel 1 kwenye kipindi Good Morning Kenya. Kumbuka ndani ya studio zetu za KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Kenya tunaye mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi ambaye ni kinara wa chama cha ANC na ni mwanachama wa muungano wa Kenya Kwanza, tukiweza kuzungumzia swala zima la siasa za mwaka wa 2022. Dakika 3 itimie saa 2 na dakika 40. Mwelekezi wangu Ben Kamuti ananiambia itakapogonga saa 2 na dakika 40 tupate mapumziko. Lakini kabla kupata mapumziko, nirudi kwa mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi. Mwaka wa 2007 ulikuwa miongoni mwa watu ambao walikuwa wanajulikana kama Pentagon chini ya aliyekuwa mwaniaji wa urais kwa tikiti ya ODM Raila Odinga. Mwaka wa 2013 ukaamua kwenda kivyako. Mwaka wa 2017 nakumbuka vizuri nikiwa katika bustani ya Uhuru Park, wewe ndio ulitangaza kusema kwamba mmemuidhinisha Raila Odinga kuwa mgombeaji kwa muungano wa NASA. Je, wapi palivunjika kati yako na Raila?
Ndugu, unajua siasa kuna kile lazima tuwe na imani, lazima tuwe kile kwa kimombo naita trust kwa wale ambao mnafanya nao siasa. Lakini sisi tuliona mtindo baada ya uchaguzi wa NASA, mtindo ambao tuliona hatuelewi tena, kwa sababu ikiwa tulikuwa tunasema tunafanya kazi pamoja alafu tunashtuka tu kwamba mwenzetu amechukua mkondo fulani, alafu baadaye akishafika pale anatuambia sasa nataka niwaeleze ni kwa nini nimefanya hivi. Tukaona hatukuwa tunatembea kwa barabara moja. Kwa hivyo wakati hayo sasa ni maji ambayo yamepita chini ya daraja. Ni kile ambacho mimi ningependa tu kuambia Wakenya ni kwamba sasa tuangalie mbele, kwa sababu sisi tunataka tubadili maisha ya Wakenya, tunataka turekebishe mambo ya uchumi, tunataka gharama ya maisha ambayo tunaona inatukumba kwa hali ambayo ni ya uchungu tujaribu kurekebisha. Lakini hawa jamaa wetu tunasikia wanasema sisi tunataka azimio la umoja. Ikiwa mtu yuko na njaa, ikiwa kuna ukosefu wa kazi, ikiwa uchumi hauko sawa, sasa utaunganisha vipi taifa la Kenya? Ni lazima sasa turekebishe uchumi, kila mtu awe sawa, ndio muungano wa Kenya utakuwa sawa. Hii ndio kile ambacho tunataka. Sasa mtu akisema mimi nitafuata nyayo za serikali ya Uhuru, ama pahali Uhuru amewachia, nataka nichukulie pale. Sasa wewe unataka uchukulie nini? Madeni? Ama unataka uchukulie hii gharama kuu ya maisha? Ni nini unataka uchukue ukisema nitafuata tu zile nyayo? Kwa hivyo sisi tunashangaa kwa sababu tukitazama hatuoni agenda halisi ya upande wa Azimio. Na ndio kwa sababu tunasema katika mrengo wa Kenya Kwanza tunataka tubadili mambo. Tunataka kuna mambo ya kikatiba, judiciary fund, we want to actualize it ili mahakama izidi kupata uhuru. Wameonyesha dalili kwamba wakipewa nafasi kama mahakama na wapewe nafasi yao, wataweza badilisha mambo ya kisheria vizuri katika taifa letu. Tupeane hiyo. Tunataka tuwe na police ambao wana ile fund yao, wawe na accounting officer wao. Kwa wakati huu police fund haijakuwa activated properly. Sasa ukiita kabisa hapa useme nataka nijue inspector mkuu ama inspector general of police, can the real inspector general step forward? Ni nani atakuja mbele? Kwa sababu kama humpatii namna, humpatii accounts zake, hawezi kujipanga vizuri na nini. Haya ndio mambo tunataka kama Kenya. Tukirekebisha uchumi, pia turekebishe mambo ya governance. katika taifa letu, na kwa Kenya Kwanza tumejitolea kufanya hivyo.
Msikilizaji, naona kwamba sasa hivi ni dakika 40 zimekatika baada ya saa 2. Tunataka kwenda kwenye mapumziko mafupi, lakini kama ndio unafungulia radio yako sasa hivi, tuko naye mheshimiwa mwenyewe Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, na tunajadili mambo mengi tu kuhusu nchi yetu, vile vile kuhusu yeye mwenyewe. Na tutakaporudi, kuna moja tunataka kumuuliza kuhusu kwamba yeye alikuwa ni msemaji wa Murembe Nation, yani jamii ya Waluya. Ilikuwaje? Labda tukirudi tutakuwa tunamrushia swali hilo na mengine mengi ambayo msikilizaji pia tutakuwa tunakupatia nafasi kupitia 0700176699. Niite Mwajuma Ali Chozi la Almasi.
Zaidi ya yote msikilizaji, mtazamaji, tumekuambia kwamba kipindi hiki unakisikiliza kupitia idhaa zetu zinazotangaza kwa lugha ya mama, kama nilivyotangulia kusema kwamba matangazo haya na mahojiano haya yetu na mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi yako moja kwa moja kwenye Ingo FM inayotangaza kwa lugha ya Kiluya, vile vile pia yako kwenye studio zetu za Shoro FM wanaotangaza kwa lugha ya Kikuyu. Vile vile pia msikilizaji, matangazo haya unayapata kwenye stesheni yetu ya Iftin FM inayotangaza kwa lugha ya Kisomali. Vile vile pia matangazo haya unayapata kupitia Pwani FM iliyoko pwani ya Kenya inayotangaza kwa lugha ya Kimijikenda. Zaidi ya yote matangazo haya yapo kwenye English service na Kiswahili service, bila kusahau Minto FM kwa lugha ya Kikisii, Mwatu FM kwa lugha ya Kikamba, Kitwek FM kwa lugha ya Kikalenjin. Sidhani kama kuna moja nimeweza kusahau. Mapumziko mafupi, tutakaporudi tutasonga mbele.
Gumzo.
Vitimbi Jumatatu hii. Jumuika nasi siku ya Jumatatu ili upate uhondo kamili kwenye Vitimbi. Hiyo basi usikose burudani tosha kila siku ya Jumanne hadi Alhamisi saa 1:35 katika tamthilia ya Maza.
Jack is my husband. Don't you think of stealing him away. If you don't want to meet me in court, you'd better leave him immediately.
You've married twice already. If you get another divorce, it will disgrace our family.
She also told me to teach you some manners. Stop going to their workplace just to cause trouble. That's foolish. Shannon, I can't live without you. I really can't live without you, Shannon.
Nataka amani.
Kunimaliza wasema kabila langu halifai kuwa hapa. Oh, hatutaki ukabila, ukabila hatutaki. Zote ni ndugu moja, tunaishi nchi moja.
Amani chozi. Hatutaki uchochezi.
Amani ni kila kitu.
Kweli kabisa.
Unaambiwa kwamba nchi hii ni yetu. Mimi na wewe msikilizaji hapo ulipo, bila amani hatuwezi tukakaa kabisa, tutakuwa refugee kwenye nchi za watu.
Na hatutaki. Ndivyo anavyosema mtazamaji Nyota Ndogo kwa mara nyingine tena, ikiwa ni saa 3 kasoro dakika 15 saa za kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. Unasikiliza KBC Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya, na vile vile pia matangazo haya yako kwenye stesheni zetu zaidi ya 10 zinazotangaza kwa lugha ya mama. Zaidi ya yote mama wa stesheni runinga ya KBC Channel 1 kwenye kipindi Good Morning Kenya. Mimi naitwa Rashid Momkondo na mwenzangu anaitwa Chozi, na tuko naye ndani ya studio Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, kiongozi wa chama cha Amani National Congress na vile vile pia mwanachama mkuu wa muungano wa Kenya Kwanza. Kabla tuende mapumzikoni, Chozi, ulikuwa na swali wewe.
Ulikuwa msemaji wa Murembe Nation, jamii ya Waluya. Ilikuwaje ukaondolewa na akawekwa gavana wa Kakamega Mheshimiwa Oparanya kama msemaji? Na wewe unalichukuliaje swala hilo?
Chozi, wachana na sarakasi. Unajua kuna watu wengine wanajibandika madaraka ambayo hawana. Kwa sababu kusema ukweli, kwa kikatiba ya taifa la Kenya, kuna kifungo gani ama kipengele gani ambacho kinasema kutakuwa na wanenaji wa kikabila? Kwa hivyo sisi sote tunafurahia pahali tumezaliwa, lakini sisi wote ni wa Kenya. Tujivunie pahali tumezaliwa, lakini zaidi tujivunie kuwa wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo mimi nashangaa ati kuna watu wanasema wamenitawaza, alafu wanasema wameniondoa. Mimi nacheka tu, nasema hiyo ni sarakasi. Kwa sababu hakuna kitu kama hicho. Kama nimetunikiwa heshima, na nataka niambie watu ukweli, kama nikutunikiwa heshima kama elder ama kiongozi ambaye amechangia mambo ya kisiasa kitaifa na hata kwa kijamii, nataka niwaambie nilikuwa nimepewa hiyo heshima zamani mwaka wa 2008 nilipewa heshima na wazee wakina JD Utiende na ambaye ni amefariki. Nilikuwa tayari, tulifanyika huko Muliro Gardens. Kwa hivyo hii mambo ingine ya kusema ati wewe umefanywa spokesman alafu hii ni sarakasi ya kujaribu kuonyesha kwamba sisi hatuna uwezo ama ushawishi wa kitaifa. Sisi mambo yetu ni ukabila tu. Kwa hivyo wachana na hiyo sarakasi. Wale ambao wanafikiri ati ni jambo la muhimu. Sasa hata ukiniambia wewe sasa umekuwa msemaji wa Luya ama msemaji wa nini, hiyo inanisaidia nini? Ninasaidia Kenya nini? Mumiasa ijifunguliwa, ni lazima tuangalie vile Mumiasa itafunguliwa. Nzoia itafunguliwa namna gani? Bei ya chakula itashuka vipi? Vijana wetu watapata vipi ajira? Kwa hivyo tuachane na hiyo sarakasi.
Na nikirudi kwako Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, tunabonga siasa hapa, tunazungumza swala zima la siasa za mwaka 2022. Rais Uhuru Kenyatta ambaye anamaliza hatamu yake ya pili tayari amekwisha tangaza msimamo wake kwamba atamuunga mkono kinara wa Azimio Raila Odinga. Je, pengine ni pigo kwako kama Musalia Mudavadi, ni pigo kwenu kama Kenya Kwanza?
Hiyo si pigo kwetu kwa sababu ametoa msimamo wake wa kibinafsi. Hiyo ni haki yake. Si hata nakumbuka Moi alitoa msimamo wake wa kibinafsi, akasema angependa Uhuru awe rais mwaka wa 2002. Na alipofanya hivyo, Raila huyu ambaye sasa Uhuru anampigia debe, akamuita Uhuru Project. Wakati
Moi Project.
Alimuita Moi Project. Kila pahali. Sasa kila pahali alikuwa akaenda akasema huyu ni Moi Project, huyu ni Moi Project. Na hatimaye Kibaki ndio akashinda kwa mrengo wa NAK. Na mimi wakati huo sifichi, tusidanganyane, na mimi nilikuwa nimeunga Uhuru mkono. Lakini tulipobandikwa hiyo mambo ya project, Uhuru aliangamia na mimi nikaangamia. Sasa wanasema saa zingine what goes round comes round. Sasa taifa lote linamuita Raila Project wa Uhuru.
Na ni ukweli ni project.
Sasa Wakenya ndio wataamua, na hivi karibuni wataamua. Kwa hivyo wanasema kwa kimombo what goes around comes around.
na wewe kivyako mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, ni ukweli kwamba Raila Odinga ni project ya Uhuru
kwa mtazamo wako?
Na vile umetoka naye mbali, umesafiri naye mbali.
Mimi vile ninavyoona, huyu si Raila ambaye mimi nilimfahamu. Raila ambayo nilimfahamu alikuwa Raila ambayo asingehitaji kushawishiwa ama kusukumiwa ili nimuunge mkono. Ningemuunga mkono tu kwa heri yangu, wakati zile zingine zote nimekuwa nikimuunga kwa sababu alikuwa na msimamo ambao ulikuwa unajulikana. Lakini siku hizi mimi naona maajabu. Sijui kwa nini imebadilika. Kwa hivyo nimekujibu bana.
Asante.
Msikilizaji, zimesalia dakika 10 timie saa 3 kamili. Naona kwamba muda unazidi kwenda. Umekuwa mstari wa mbele kulaumu serikali na viongozi wengine wa kisiasa kwa kushiriki au kuendeleza ufisadi. Na baadhi ya viongozi uliowakashifu kwa sasa ni wandani wako. Labda unalizungumziaje swala hilo?
Ufisadi ni lazima tuzidi kupigania. Na sijui ukisema wandani wangu sijui
kwa sasa sijui nani wapiga vita
kwa sababu kuita mtu mfisadi na nini, hiyo ni jukumu hatimaye la mahakama kuamua. Na kama kuna watu ambao wana mambo ya kifisadi, itakuwa jukumu lao wakati mashirika ambayo yanapigana na mambo ya ufisadi kama ni EACC, kama ni DCI na nini, wakiwapeleka mahakamani hawa watu watajibu. Lakini kusema ukweli, tumekuwa tukisikia uvumi kwamba kuna watu wengi sana katika mrengo wa Azimio ambao wakijaribu kutoa msimamo wao wa kisiasa wanakumbushwa kuna file fulani inawangoja pahali wakidhubutu kujiondoa ama kutoka kule ambapo wako kusimama na Kenya kwanza. Kwa hivyo kuna mwili kwa upande wa Azimio, lakini kiroho wako kwa Kenya kwanza. Kwa hivyo vitisho hivi ndio tukisema ni lazima tuangalie kwamba tukienda mbele tuunde kama ni kupigana na ufisadi, tupeane nafasi ya kutosha ili na uhuru wale ambao wanapigana na ufisadi wawe na uhuru wa kufanya hivyo na kutekeleza wajibu wao bila kuingiza siasa kule ndani. Kwa hivyo kama kuna wale ambao wana shida, ni lazima sheria iwafate vilivyo.
Labda kwa mtazamo wako, tunaweza kukabiliana vipi, ama nyinyi mnaweza kukabiliana vipi na ufisadi na wafisadi? Nitataja mambo kadhaa. Kwanza, kwa mfano, tukiangalia vile bunge inatenga pesa kwa kile tunaita the holistic justice system, wamekuwa wakinyima judiciary pesa. Tangu serikali ya Jubilee iwe hapo, wamekuwa wakitenga constant figure 15 billion peke yake kwa judiciary. Na ndio kwa sababu tunasema tunataka tukipata mamlaka to activate ile judiciary fund, ndio mahakama yawe huru vilivyo kutekeleza wajibu wao. Tunataka tuone ethics and anti-corruption wakipewa vifaa na pesa za kutosha kupambana na mambo ya ufisadi. Tunataka Auditor General pia apewe pesa za kutosha kufanya kazi yake, kwa sababu hauwezi ukashinda kesi katika koti hizi kabla haujapeana report thabiti ya Auditor General. Sasa itakuwaje kila mwaka allocation ya ofisi ya Ethics and Corruption ni 3 billion, ya Auditor General ni 3 billion, ya Director of Public Prosecutions ni 3 billion, alafu mahakama ni 15 billion, lakini bunge ambalo ni bunge la kitaifa nalo wanapata karibu 40 billion kutekeleza wajibu wao. Mahakama yanakaa siku 6 kwa wiki, yani Monday to Friday. Ikiwa kuna emergency unaweza kaa hata Saturday kama kuna jambo la muhimu sana. Na wana wafanyikazi karibu 7,000. Bunge ina wafanyikazi karibu, ukiweka hata pamoja na wabunge, watu karibu 1,500. Inakuwaje wanapata pesa zaidi kushinda hawa wengine?
Kwa hivyo tukitaka tupigane na ufisadi ni lazima turekebishe mambo kama yale. Tunataka Inspector General awe accounting officer kwa pesa zake, ili isiwe kwamba anangojea PS kutoka kwa ofisi ya internal security kumpatia pesa ndio afate wahalifu. Tunataka ajipange, awe na programu yake bila shida yote, financing package yake iwe sawa, ndio tuanze kupigana na mambo ya ufisadi vilivyo katika taifa letu. Kwa hivyo haya ndio sisi tungependa. Hatutaki KRA itumiwe kwa kisiasa. Tumeona sasa mtu akisimama akiona msimamo fulani anaendo wanamwandama. Juzi tumeona kampuni kule Naivasha, tumeziona kampuni hapa Thika, zingine tumeziona wanaandamwa kwa mambo hiyo ya ushuru kwa sababu ya msimamo wa kisiasa. Huo ni ufisadi mkuu, na ni lazima tuangalie tuone kwamba kila mtu anapata analindwa vilivyo na anahujumiwa vilivyo kulingana na katiba na sheria ya Kenya. Hatutaki a kangaroo approach kwa mambo ya kupigana na ufisadi.
Na msikilizaji na mtazamaji, kumbuka ndani ya studio tuko naye Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi ambaye ni kinara wa chama cha ANC, tukizungumzia kuhusiana na ustawi wa taifa na vile vile pia siasa za mwaka 2022. Dakika zinazidi kuyoyoma na maswali bado yapo, lakini chozi haitakuwa vyema endapo hatutamshirikisha msikilizaji na yeye aweze kuzungumza na mheshimiwa. Naona simu zangu zinawaka. Msikilizaji 0700176699 na kuomba tu kitu kimoja, utakapokuja hewani upunguze sauti ya redio yako, na vile vile pia swali lako
wa maneno na swali lako liwe ni swali
ndio wapatie wenzako nafasi. Hello Radio Taifa. Hello Radio Taifa.
Hello Rashid na Mkondo na Stesi la Upa.
Karibu sana.
Salamia Wycliffe Honorable Wycliffe Earthquake. Mtusitanganyane, salamu zangu Bushere Wycliffe.
Bushere. Asante sana ndugu.
Na alimo Earthquake, na alimo KBC opo nemba na share nitizamo Earthquake na ni pomasi. Ya tongo la bandu tengone kaniti ya bosaiti.
Yes.
Haya, mheshimiwa naona amezungumza,
ametoa maoni, amenieleza kwamba yeye alifuatilia sana mambo ya earthquake tarehe 23 Januari. Alikuwa kule na akafuatilia sana na alifurahi. Bas, kwa hivyo ni maoni, hakuwa na swali lakini ametoa tu.
Nilikuwa nafikiria pengine ni Kifaransa. Radio Taifa, hello.
Hello Radio Taifa. Ni Eric Wesa kutoka Butere.
Karibu.
Mimi nauliza tu huyo Honorable Musalia Mudavadi swali moja tu. Mnanisikiza?
Tunakusikiliza.
Mimi nauliza tu swali moja. Alikuwa anatembea tu na Raila vizuri, Raila akianguka pia yeye alikuwa anaanguka. Je, anaona vipi Raila Amolo Odinga akikuwa rais wa Kenya msimu huu wa 5 atachukua namna gani? Hilo swali ya Asante ni Eric Wesa kutoka Butere.
Asante.
Ndugu, unajua hii ni demokrasia. Msimamo wangu labda si msimamo wengine. Kama watu watamchagua Raila, basi hiyo itakuwa demokrasia, watakuwa wamefanya uamuzi wao. Lakini kwa sasa mimi nasema msimamo wangu hauko upande huo.
Asante. Hello Radio Taifa.
Hello Mkondo.
Yes.
Mambo vipi? Salamia mheshimiwa mtoto wa nyumbani.
Asante.
Huyu naongeke natoka kwa kaunti kwa Vihiga County. Niko na swali ningependa kumuuliza. Swali la kwanza, kuna wakati alikuwa na matanga ya mama yake, Uhuru akakuja kwake akasema hii barabara yote kutoka Mururu mpaka kwa Mudavadi nitatengeneza. Hiyo ahadi alitekeleza ama kutekeleza?
Asante. Swali zuri, tuchukue simu nyingine. Natumai mheshimiwa unayanakili haya maswali
asante sana. Hilo nitasema tu tunangojea tuone contractor akiwa kwa barabara ndio tujue kwamba ametekeleza.
Okay, hello Radio Taifa.
Hello KBC Radio Taifa.
Ndio.
Salamia Umami Mudavadi hapo.
Asante.
Nina maswali mawili. Swali langu la kwanza ni kwamba leo ukiangalia katika
Pole.
Ngauliza moja tu. Hello Radio Taifa. Hello Radio Taifa.
Mlisha Kamatu kutoka Checkpoint.
Karibu.
Nauliza Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi, wakati aliteuliwa kuwa spokesman ya Waluya, alifanya ama alichukua jukumu gani kuita watu wa Western aweke pamoja, waambie mwelekeo wangu ndio huu, lakini wakati aliteuliwa alienda kanyamaza, ni kama hakuwa anatambua hiyo kazi ambayo alipewa? Shukrani.
Haya, tuchukue simu nyingine Mheshimiwa. Hello Radio Taifa.
Wa Mkondo.
Yes sir.
Radio Taifa.
Asante
sana. Huyu ni mzee Reverend Joseph Owino.
Karibu.
Kutoka Vihiga County, Mwaya constituency in West Bunyore Ward, Seko sublocation. Katika familia yetu ya Ngani Rain Meka. Mzadi ya Mrembe mu studio CFS ya Channel 1.
Mrembe mno.
Asante, nashukuru kwa sababu mimi ni mzee wa miaka 78. Msimamo ambao ulioutoa ndio msimamo thabiti, kutokuegemea upande mwingine, na ukaona utangaze msimamo wako. Hiyo ndio demokrasia, kwa sababu mahali wewe umeenda, hata sisi tumefurahi kuungana na Mheshimiwa Ruto kufanya kazi pamoja katika Kenya kwanza. Hiyo ndio utaratibu, na kwa Kiluya wanasema nyungu ambayo umeweka viazi na usipofunika vizuri, hiyo viazi iwezi ikaiva ama ipitishwe na macho mbaya. Yule mtu ambaye tunaita kwa Kiluya okuchoya ama puoni, hata ukiweka moto haiwezi ikaiva. Kwa hivyo kuna nyungu ingine unaweza pika chakula na haiwezi ikaiva, na hiyo msimamo ambao umetangaza, hiyo ndio sawa dhabiti sahihi.
Asante Mheshimiwa, tuna dakika moja tuweze kumaliza labda.
Yule ambaye aliuliza mmoja nilinakili, alikuwa anauliza kuhusu jamii ile ya Waluhya, anasema kwamba ulipoteuliwa kwa msemaji alafu ukaenda ukanyamaza.
Unajua si kuna mnyamaza, nimekuwa nikizungumzia maneno ya kitaifa. Nataka niambie Wakenya hivyo. Tumekuwa tukizungumzia maneno ya kitaifa, tutazungumzia wakati tunazungumzia maneno ya uchumi, maneno ya kuhakikisha madeni ambayo yanatukumba kama taifa haitusumbui, kuimarisha ukulima na nini. Sijui nataka tuzungumze lugha gani, lakini haya ndio mambo tunasema tunataka tuzungumze kwa mambo ya kitaifa, national discourse na hata community discourse ambayo itatusaidia, lakini tusiende kwa fitina vidogo vidogo. Mimi sina nafasi kama hiyo, na sitaki kupeleka wa Kenya kwa fitina ambavyo havina msingi. Jambo la pili, nataka nimpongeze huyo mzee wa miaka 78 kwa sababu ametoa msimamo wake. Amesema kwamba ni lazima tushoe mwelekeo, tuonyeshe mwelekeo, na mimi nilionyesha mwelekeo, nikatoa uamuzi wangu baada ya kushauriana na wanachama wa ANC, na tukatoa msimamo wetu, tuko kwa Kenya kwanza, na hapo ndio tuko, na juhudi letu sasa ni kushawishi Wakenya wengi waunge mrengo wa Kenya kwanza mkono.
Na Mheshimiwa mwelekezi wangu ananiambia muda wetu haunasi, labda tuchukue fursa hii kuweza kuzungumza na Wakenya wakati huu tunapojitayarisha kwa uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2022.
Kwanza wacha nichukue fursa hii kusema tunawatakia ama nawatakia Waislamu wote mwezi wa Ramadhani ambao utakuwa wa manufaa sana kwao na kwa taifa letu, na hata watusaidie sana tuwe watulivu kama Wakenya, tuwe na mambo mazuri. Kwa mambo ya uchaguzi ambao tunakaribia, ni lazima tuhakikishe hatuna fujo kwa uchaguzi wetu. Tunataka tuhakikishe kama Wakenya kwamba tume ya IBC itatekeleza wajibu wake kulingana na sheria bila kupendelea upande wowote ama kuegemea upande wowote. Vile mahakama kuu imetoa uamuzi wa busara katika mambo ya BBI, hata walipopata kama walikuwa wanapata vitisho ama nini hatujui, lakini la muhimu wametoa msimamo wao, na hiyo sasa ni funzo na iwe kielelezo kwa mashirika mengine haswa IBC kwamba nao wasimame imara, wasiegemee ama wasipendelee pande wowote wakati wa kura. La mwisho, hatutaki fujo kwa mambo yetu ya campaigns na uchaguzi. Kitendo ambacho kilifanyika katika upande wa Eldoret, tukishtumu, tukilani. Na pia kile kilifanyika kule Busia kwa naibu wa rais William Ruto kilaniwe pia. Kule Kisumu kilaniwe pia. Kile kilifanyika hapa Jakaranda kwa uwanja hapa kwake pia kilaniwe. Na kile kilifanyika Keno wakati walienda kwa kanisa na hata vijana wawili wakaaga dunia kilaniwe. Kwa hivyo hatutaki wale ambao wanasimamia usalama ama ambao wale wako na ushawishi waseme wanalani kitendo kimoja na wanakataa kulani vile vitendo vingine. Ni lazima iwe even handed, kwa sababu hatutaki fujo pahali popote katika taifa letu. Kwa mambo ya uchaguzi, watu wawe na uhuru wa kufanya kampeni zao pahali popote katika taifa letu bila fujo. Na kuna wengine ambao wangependa kuwa na mtego, waweke watu kwa mtego. Na ni lazima sasa wafuasi wetu na wafuasi wanasiasa tofauti wajue pia kuna mtego. Kuna wale wangependa kuwaingiza kwa hali ambayo haifai.
Asante.
Ndio fujo ionekane imefanyika katika Kenya.
Shukran.
Na sisi hatutaki hivyo. Kwa hivyo sisi katika Kenya kwanza tutazidi kudumisha amani.
Okay.
Na kuwashawishi wafuasi wetu wasijiingize kwa mitego ama kwa mambo ya fujo. Asante.
Asante. Naona mwelekezi wangu Ben Kamuti ananipeleka mbio mithili ya baskeli iliyoibiwa, mtazamaji. Ikiwa ni saa 3:06, basi hatuna budi kuweza kutamilisha matangazo haya ya moja kwa moja, ambapo tumekuwa naye kiongozi wa chama cha ANC Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi. Asante sana mheshimiwa kwa kuweza kupata fursa kuja ndani ya studio na kuzungumza nasi. Natumai kwamba tutakutafuta zaidi tuendelee na hapa. Mtazamaji basi wa KBC Channel 1 kwenye kipindi Good Morning Kenya, na vile vile idhaa zetu zote zinazotangaza kwa lugha ya mama, bila kusahau stesheni zetu za kitaifa Kiswahili Service na KBC English Service. Hatuna la ziada kukamilisha matangazo haya. Kwa niaba ya wote waliofanikisha matangazo haya, kaimu mkurugenzi mkuu wa shirika la utangazaji nchini Bwana Samuel Maina, vile vile pia mkuu ama kaimu mkuu wa redio zote za shirika la utangazaji nchini Bwana Jona Kusero, asanteni sana. Vile vile pia wapiga picha wetu ndani ya studio, waelekezi wetu Ben na Mato kutoka upande wa pili, na vile vile pia kila kumsahau msimamizi wa vipindi vya runinga ya KBC Channel 1 Bwana Michael Ndetei, vile vile pia wenzetu kutoka Central Apparatus Room yani CAR, asanteni sana. Na msikilizaji asante sana. Basi kwa niaba ya mwenzangu Chozi la Almasi, mimi naitwa Rashid Momkondo na zinga inaendelea. Samahani sana Bwana Jona Ngare, tumekusimamisha sana. Kwa herini, asante sana mheshimiwa.
Asante.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Jack is my husband. Don't you think of stealing him away. If you don't want to meet me in court, you'd better leave him immediately.
You've married twice already. If you get another divorce, it will disgrace our family.
She also told me to teach you some manners. Stop going to their workplace just to cause trouble. That's foolish. Janet. I can't live without you. I really can't live without you, Shannon.
Keep abreast of the developments live from the National Assembly and the Senate.
On our members of parliament.
The questions.
When is the construction expected to commence?
The motions.
Beg to give notice of the following motion.
The debate.
Will as many as what Robino say aye.
The statements.
A statement on an issue of general topical concern.
The petitions.
Order number 4, petitions.
Stay tuned to KBC Channel 1 and Radio Taifa for live proceedings from both houses of parliament from Tuesday to Thursday. Live, uncensored, unedited. KBC, your national broadcaster.
Conversation around mental health. As you already know by now, it is one of the key conversations that we always have here on Good Morning Kenya on a monthly basis, given the situation we have all been through for the better part of the last 2 years. And with us in studio this morning, we have Nelly Ketura Otieno, who is a counseling psychologist as well as the program director at New Health. Good morning, Nelly.
Good morning, Wendy.
Karibu sana Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you very much.
Karibu sana. Now remember, you can also be part of this conversation. As always, we are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jane Womboy. Now let's just get straight into it. And you are a trained counseling psychologist for that matter, and also the program director at New Health. Tell us a bit about New Health before we get further into this conversation around mental health and wellness.
Thank you very much. New Health Medical Center is actually a tranquil haven for individuals who are suffering, would need help, actually, in terms of addiction, people who are looking for mental stability, having suffered disorders. We also have programs for all counseling activities. For example, we do family therapy. We also do adolescent counseling. We also have meditations and mindfulness. Yes. We do stress management. We also do group therapies.
All right. Now, tell us a bit about your background in line with mental health and wellness. When did it start? When did you get into this field and how?
Okay, literally I'm a trained counselor, having pursued up to a master's degree in counseling psychology. Currently I'm pursuing a PhD. But my journey with counseling started 15 years ago. While I was working for Postal Corporation of Kenya. Literally in life I'm a helper, and I did not discover this until then, when my CEO sent me for counseling training so that I could be able to help the workers and help them professionally. So I did a course for 2 years, and then after that I came back and worked. And within that stint, I realized that there was potential, and also my interest in not just helping, but going beyond and understanding people's problems and helping them deal with it now was cultivated. And so from there, I now thought the best thing was to do better by studying counseling to the fullest, so that I could be helped professionally. I could be able to help people with more knowledge, not just giving this kind of, head knowledge to others. So I went back and went to school and fully qualified. And from then, I've been doing counseling at the workplace until I joined New Health.
Yeah.
All right. Now, when we talk about mental health and wellness as well as illness, which we'll be coming to those definitions in a bit, how would you define mental health?
Okay. Literally, mental health is, this includes our emotional stability, psychosocial well-being. It affects how we relate, how we understand things, how we act, how we feel. Yeah, our mental health, it helps us to determine or handle stress situations. Yeah.
All right. Now, you had mentioned that, you started way back in 15 years ago. I was about to say 2015. 15 years ago. And, looking at the working environment, we're living in a time where the work environment for so many people has become, some describe it as healthy, others describe it as toxic. But from what you have seen over the years, looking at the work environment, what toll does it take on an individual's mental state of being?
Very, very stressful, Mboya, I can assure you.
Yeah.
If I can tell you, especially in our country, we've had to face a lot of things. When we look at the election periods, come with a lot of stresses, especially from 2007, when we had a lot of violence during election times.
Yes.
And this literally affects individuals, and these are the individuals that form the workplace fraternity. So what happens is every election period, when it comes, everybody begins to have this wondering what is going to be next. Is it going to be violence as usual? People are going to fight, and people lose their jobs.
Yes.
Others lose lives. And then that is not even, before we get out of that, then came the pandemic in 3 years back. And this, when it happens, both the government and the private sector had to lay off a lot of people, and that literally affected lives. Some of those who even were left at the workplace had to take pay cuts.
Yes.
And this definitely had a lot of psychological effects. And this led to a lot of mental health conditions that we are currently experiencing. So the workplace is not as it was because of these recurrent situations that have kept coming. And that has definitely affected and escalated the mental health situation in our country.
All right, and I'd like to just like for us to focus on some of the causes that bring about mental ill health for most people, and rightfully so. We've talked about the work environment. There's some people who say their work environment is absolutely toxic, and there are those that say my workplace is the best place ever. So to each their own. Now let's come and talk a bit about the pandemic, and you rightfully just brought it right in time. It is something that most people did not. Nobody would pray for a pandemic, but looking at the toll that it has taken on each and every individual, whether directly or indirectly, how would you say we are faring as a country?
Well, I would think that what needs to be done is a lot of therapeutic support need to be put in place, because when it happened, it caught us unawares.
Yes.
And what has happened, there's a lot of stigmatization around issues like, if you talk about COVID, even at the workplace, a lot of people did not want to be associated. I mean, you'd go to the doctor and the tests are done and you're positive, but a lot of people would come back and, just lie low as if nothing happened, or others would definitely take leave and stay at home. And this is as a result of, people are so scared of, if I said, this is what I'm going through, what are people going, how are we going to look at, how am I going to be looked at? So what I would say at the workplace, and especially things like this kind of pandemics, a lot of awareness needs to be created, and people should be supported in terms of given psychological support so that they can be able to deal with these kind of things in the rightful manner, support from professionals that understand and can be able to help them get back to their feet.
All right. And speaking of support from professionals, there's also the group of people that already have mental disorders, but they're not even probably aware of them. How does this catalyze or make the situation even worse?
Yes.
if you look at it again from the point of the workplace, what we all do is advise and guide. And but I think that doesn't help because every situation is very different.
Yes.
So I believe that more awareness need to be created on where support can be gotten from, so that people can be able to seek for those help. And also employers need to appreciate the fact that they're dealing with individuals that need to be helped, and therefore they need to put in place those mechanisms that can be able to support the employer, knowing that if I have this sort of like symptoms, I have a place that I can go to comfortably, and my employer would be able to take care of it. Because if the employee is healthy, then definitely they'll be able to be more productive, giving back to society as they're supposed to do. But if they're not supported, it becomes very difficult.
All right. And you know, speaking of not being supported, that also comes in the aspect of maybe people could be having this form of support, but they don't know how to reach us due to poor awareness. Still within the work environment, as you've rightfully put it, how can this also be addressed? Looking at companies, how can they increase levels of awareness within their institutions to benefit those that are directly involved with them?
Well, just like the employers have done, I know if I'm sick, I can be able to go to Mpisha Hospital or go to Nairobi Hospital or Kenyatta Hospital. The employers also need to put policies in place and make it open for the employees to know that, you know, when you're having a mental disorder, it's nothing abnormal. I mean, it's not like, it's not a life sentence. And put it that when this happens, you have a place that you can be able to be supported from, and list it in the organization that you can see this particular therapist, and this is exactly your entitlement when it comes to that. I think that would help.
All right.
Yeah.
But we still have a lot of stigmatization, and especially so looking at the working environment, not everyone will be understanding of another individual's state of mental being. How do we also address the question of stigmatization, which also is a cause for mental ill health?
Well, Wamboi, that's really, really a big issue in Kenya. And this is not even at the workplace only. You look at even families. You look at how many youth that we have lost as a country due to, not knowing the problems they're having, and somebody ends up committing suicide. And this again as a result of stigmatization. You find, for example, a pastor has a child that has a problem, but they wouldn't want to talk about it, and they also are not helping the kid. You're told to keep quiet about it. It cannot go outside because it's going to affect my image outside there. So this is a huge problem that I think as a country we still have to contend with. But as therapists, what we do is we keep talking to groups, to people, to individuals, to just let them know that just the same way that you can have malaria and go for treatment, all these other mental issues can actually still be able to be addressed, and somebody gets back to their normal being, and that there's nothing wrong with coming out and talking about them. But again, the workplace, the employers need to work alongside the therapists or such organizations, invite them or incorporate them in their policies so that awareness is created to make it easy for people to be open about the situations they find themselves in.
All right. Now we've talked about the workplace, but we also have the younger category, and these are our children who have also experienced their fair share of challenges for the better part of the last 2 years. Now, looking at the school environment where they spend the biggest chunk of their day, how can it also be turned to be a healthy environment that these children can freely interact and freely communicate and express the things that stress them?
Again, we'll go back to stigmatization. That right from the school environment, the managers of education system need to be more open And like you say, it's very, very true that the younger generation has suffered a fair deal in all this. If you look at kids of 14 years, 16, 18 committing suicide. And this is as a result of issues that if were addressed at the right time, definitely we could have actually arrested the situations.
And avoided so much.
Avoided, exactly. Yeah. So number one, schools do not want to be associated with, these are our students that have this kind of a problem. So everything is put under the carpet.
Hush, hush.
Exactly. The same thing that happens within the homes. Parents is hush, hush again. Because of my position in society, I should not, my child should not be this kind of a person. And yet, at the end of the day, we suffer the same. So parents and those in education sector need to totally open up, accept the times that we are living in, that it's very stressful, and everybody and anybody can actually go through the things that everybody else is going through, but what they need is support, emotional support, so that they can be able to deal with them. And sometimes there are very simple things that if talked about can be helped, but we are so silent, and therefore we also silent the sufferers until we bury them.
And when we are starting to see the manifestation with people committing suicide.
Exactly.
But also there are those people who believe in turning to religious leaders whenever they're having any challenges, they're going through stressful situations or episodes in their lives. And they heavily depend on what the clergy or the religious leader will tell them in guidance to help them navigate these waters. As a counseling psychologist, how can we also involve the religious leaders to come on board and, help when it comes to dealing with mental health illness in a way that will actually result in seeing change that is positive on this individual?
Well, I think my take on this is a religious leader is also just another human being like me. And if they're not professionally empowered to be able to handle a situation, they'll just do it with the know-how, knowledge. And sometimes this is exactly what leads to a lot of problems that we find ourselves in. If you give an advice according to how you handle your own situation, we are all very different.
Yes.
So for me, I would urge, if they have to help, then I think they need to also get the right training that can be able to empower them into doing this kind of activities. So for me, anybody with a mental illness or a mental problem should actually be able to look for support from a trained, professional individual.
All right.
Yeah.
So, by the way, this is not meant to be discriminative. If you prefer to go to a church leader to seek guidance,
exactly,
to each their own. But from what we have heard from Nelly, it is advisable to seek professional help when it comes to stressful situations that one could be going through. Now, another phenomenon that has been noted, and this was actually part of statistics that were put out, that women are twice as likely to experience a depressive episode in their lifetime, but men are committing suicide more. Why is this the situation?
Well, boy, women tend to be more tuned into their emotions, and they're better able to actually describe them within when they're depressed. Women talk, and literally talk. She's going to the market and she meets this fellow woman and she has a problem. It's so easy for women to just talk and then draw from each other. Unlike men, and I think as a society or as human beings, we've also placed this on men. A man is supposed to be very strong. Kangumu, kama mwanaume, those kind of things.
Yes.
Men are not supposed to cry. Men are supposed to be the heads of families, and therefore if you're the head, then you're supposed to be out of reach of some of these small issues, and they'll call them small issues. So every time when they are going through things, what happens is it reflects back. I'm supposed to be strong, so if I'm strong, I'm not supposed to keep talking. Usionge maneno mingi kama ya mwanamke, you know, and in the maneno mingi kama ya mwanamke, the woman actually is expressing and relieving their issues. And in keeping silent as a man, it's just building. So what happens, a woman talks about it, and when you talk about issues, actually sometimes they evaporate, or sometimes you're able to be directed to where you can be supported. But in keeping quiet, it keeps building. You kept quiet during the 2007 post-election violence, where maybe you lost a relative or all your things were burnt in a house. And as a man, you're just supposed to struggle, build it, and be man enough.
Take it like a man.
Exactly. So you kept quiet. Then came the pandemic, and you lost your job. And you're still supposed to be able to provide for this family because you're the family head. Again, what are you supposed to do? Keep quiet, because man enough, you know, mwanaume apigi kelele, so just handle your things. And yet deep inside, a man is actually dying. So that is where at times, so it builds up until it reaches a point as a human being, they cannot take it anymore. So most of the times, and they did not seek for any therapeutic support because they didn't speak it out to be supported. And so what happens? It normally ends tragic,
resulting in so many suicide cases that we are seeing.
Exactly. So I think that's the reason why we have, for me, that's exactly one of the things why we have so many more cases of men committing suicide because of keeping quiet.
And how would you advise us to go about this situation? Because we know some of these narratives that man is supposed to be strong, mwanaume ni kukaa ngumi, they are so deeply rooted in culture. And we are in the 21st century, and mental illness has become a reality that we can no longer afford to ignore. We are seeing depression on an upward trajectory, on a daily anxiety. So many people are being diagnosed with anxiety, and especially for our men. How can we also ensure that we are creating an environment that men can also feel free to express their emotions without feeling vulnerable?
I think the first step for me would be being each other's keeper. Be your brother's keeper.
Yes.
And this would totally include all of us, both relatives and non-relatives, men and women, young and old. That everybody you interact with, be on the lookout. I'm used to seeing one boy very jolly, bubbly, and everything. And then suddenly, if she was a male, suddenly gone under, just quiet, does not talk, does not come out. The places where we used to meet, we don't see them anymore. Then we need to find out, and then allow them to be, encourage them to talk about it. Again, especially for wives, if we are caring enough for our spouses, then let's stop this business of you are supposed to be a man and therefore I don't care what happens, you know, provide, bring it, and you know, whether you are going to steal, all I want is you to come back with something, you know. Hiyo ni shida yako, kule itatoka. No, let's begin to care for each other as a society, caring enough to know the little symptoms that were not there yesterday, and finding out why are they there today, and encouraging this person to talk by not putting more demands on an individual, allowing them to exist, allowing them to express, and giving them time to come out of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you've actually just mentioned, you know, symptoms that, you know, start manifesting, start showing, that could be the telltale towards somebody maybe going through a mental disorder or experiencing some form of challenge that is taking a toll on their mental well-being. What are some of those symptoms that we can be on the lookout for that could help us help another individual before things take a tragic turn?
Yeah, most of the times people begin to, you know, anxiety comes in, and when people are anxious, this outlook of worriedness. There's also issues of lack of sleep, insomnia. For some people that never used to eat so much, they now begin to have this large appetite, and they want to literally just feed at every other time to cover up. Other people lose weight, others gain so much weight because all they do is sit and think and eat and do all these kind of things. Emotionally, people get withdrawn. Somebody that was bubbly and was talking suddenly just decides to curl into themselves and stop talking. Other people develop illnesses like high blood pressure. Yeah, those are some of the signs, and many others. The people get agitated at very small things. They would want to literally blow up. Yeah, those kind of things, if you see them in somebody, then it's important to be worried or to begin to ask.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, as we bring the conversation to a close, somebody is watching us today and maybe they have been experiencing one challenge or the other, but they don't know what forms of treatment could be available to them. What are these options that one has when it comes to addressing mental ill health?
Number one, I think it's important to seek for medical help because mental health is actually a disease. And so it's good to go to a medical facility so that the problem can be identified. And some of it would need a medication, others would need counseling, others would even need admission in an institution so that they are properly taken care of. And that's what we also do at New Health. We have a facility where one is admitted, and so they receive the treatment and the counseling and all these therapies in-house. So, and we have a lot of counselors in this country that one can actually reach out to for support. We also have a lot of counseling institutions where you can also be able to seek for help. Right.
All right. Now, maybe for those who would like to seek help from you, are you available on the social media platforms, or how can our viewer be able to get in touch should they need assistance?
Okay. At New Health, we have telephone contact, which I can share, 0786 599509. You can also reach us on 0757 198975. Our email address is info@newhealthmedicalcenter.co.ke. The institution is on Kitisuru Road. Yeah, so, and you can reach me at my page at Nelly Otieno. And my email address is notieno34 at gmail.co.ke.
All right. So I do believe those platforms are sufficient in order for maybe just someone who's seeking help and they're watching us today, they can be able to reach out. Now, remember, this has been all about mental health. It is a very ripe conversation that continues to cut through time, and especially so over the past 2 years, mental health has become a reality that we need to embrace and address as and when it keeps arising. So if you feel you're going through some of the issues that we have mentioned here, do seek help. We do not appreciate or just like situations that could have been taken care of, ending in rather sad situations. But for now, we have to bring this discussion to a close. We have been speaking with Nelly Ketura Otieno, who is the counseling psychologist by profession and also the program director at New Health Medical Center. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Karibu.
Asante.
That is that in regards to what we had lined up for you, but thank you so much for being with us. We will be back again tomorrow morning. My name is Jen Boy. Bye-bye for now.
Akili, this is Akili. She has a secret. Tell us. When the sun goes down, Akili goes to sleep, and she enters a world where all the animals speak.